31. Why is it no? 31 again. He smashed the phone away. As if in anger and fear. The phone hit the wall and broke into pieces. Shen Feng lay back heavily on the bed, looking at the simple ceiling. This was the 7th time he woke up on the morning of the 31st. Every time it is accompanied by this damn ringing tone. And every time I open my eyes I am lying on this bed. No matter where he fell asleep last night or how badly he smashed his phone yesterday. It was useless. He still remembered that during the first cycle, he initially thought he was dreaming, until he fell while going downstairs in a daze and was in so much pain that he couldn't stand up. And he realized that he was not dreaming. The second time he went through the cycle, he felt panic, but also a sense of freshness. He even went to someone he knew and shared the experience with them. But they all thought he was crazy. Only when he called Zhang Wanwan did Zhang Wanwan listen to him carefully. And that night, Zhang Wanwan came to see him, and he was very happy. After the third cycle, his novelty wore off and his panic worsened. He called his parents, who drove to Zhonghe City to find him and took him to see a psychiatrist. That night he was taken back to King Yukai by his parents to sleep. But when he woke up, he was greeted by the ceiling here again. He entered the 4th cycle again. Then the 5th, the 6th, and now the 7th. Shen Feng couldn't figure out what was going on. And he didn't know how long he would be trapped. But he felt somewhat broken. Shen Feng lay in bed for a long time, until he could no longer bear the hunger. And then he climbed up from the bed somewhat stiffly. He walked out of the room dejectedly and onto the street. The bright sunshine in late July is so dazzling and scorching even in the morning. Men and women coming and going on the street, holding cold drinks, hugging each other, walking and laughing. Chen Chang was standing in the world composed of them. But he seemed out of tune with the whole world. Just like when he was in school and was excluded by classmates who he couldn't play with. Shen Feng felt like he was now excluded by time. He feels so tired. I'm so confused. I was so hungry that I bought some breakfast. Shen Feng ate and walked aimlessly. He could not think of any purpose for himself. After all, he didn't know whether when he opened his eyes tomorrow, he would see the first day of August or the familiar 31st. Shen Feng finally found a bench in a street park and sat down. Sitting under the shade of the tree, he saw a man and a woman arguing by the artificial lake opposite. But he was not in the mood to watch other people's fun. After finishing his breakfast, he leaned on the bench, not moving. In the past few days, it seems that the only one who is willing to listen to him is his younger brother. But Brother Wan, it seems that we will arrive in Zhonghe City in the evening. It's still a long time from now. Shen Feng suddenly straightened his back. Since Wan Ji hasn't come yet. Since he doesn't know what to do. He might as well go find Zhang Wanwan himself. He first went to a mobile phone store to buy a new phone. And then took out the original SIM card from the broken phone. Then he took out his cell phone and bought a plane ticket to Suzhou Hanghouse. He remembered that Zhang Wanwan returned to Zhonghe City from Suzhou Hanghouse. When other people fly, they all carry some luggage with them. Only Shen Feng brought nothing. For him now, taking himself along is like taking the world along. On the plane, Shen Feng's seatmate was a young girl about his age. The girl probably thought Shen Feng was pretty good looking, so she chatted with him for a while. For Shen Feng, who was experiencing the same day over and over again, he felt very fortunate that a stranger could say something he had never heard before. He also chatted with the girl for a while. The girl seemed to think that the chat was quite speculative. So she asked Shen Feng, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Shen Chang was stunned for a moment. He subconsciously opened his phone and looked at the WeChat app that he had just downloaded on his new phone. Looking at the pinned contact Wan Ji, Shen Feng was silent for a while. Should he say he has a girlfriend? But Wan Ji, it seems that she is not his girlfriend. When Shen Feng hesitated, the girl next to him suddenly smiled and said, "It seems that I am being presumptuous judging from your expression. You should have a girlfriend." Shen Feng looked at the girl beside him in astonishment. And the girl shrugged. "Why, am I wrong? I studied criminal investigation in college and learned some micro-expressions. Judging from your expression just now, I think you should have a girlfriend. And you have a good relationship, at least you like her very much." I haven't confessed to her yet." Shen Feng let out a breath and leaned back in the airplane seat. "Why not? I'm not good enough for her." "Really? And you should work hard to be worthy of her." The girl smiled and said, "I think you are a very nice person if you work hard. I believe you can succeed. By the way, if you really love her, I hope you can confess to her as soon as possible. Maybe she has always loved you and is just waiting for your confession." "Thanks." Shen Cheng really wanted to say that the person he liked was now a celebrity and that he was far inferior to her. But in the end, he just said thank you. The girl shook her head to indicate you're welcome. After getting off the plane, Shen Feng stood in front of the airport. He checked the time and then the flight schedule at the airport. Zhang Wanwan's flight will depart in about an hour. Even if Zhang Wanwan hasn't arrived at the airport yet, she should be there soon. Shen Feng sat on a bench outside the airport, watching the pedestrians coming and going, passing by him carrying luggage of all sizes. He was afraid of missing Zhang Wanwan, so he kept staring at the crowd. It was almost the same as Shen Feng expected after waiting for less than 20 minutes. Shen Feng saw Zhang Wanwan walking over with luggage. Although she was wearing a mask and sunglasses, Shen Feng could still recognize her. After all, this is the person he likes. This is his younger brother. He stood up and walked towards Zhang Wanwan. Before Zhang Wanwan stepped into the airport, he held Zhang Wanwan's hand. Zhang Wanwan turned her head in astonishment. And when she saw that the person pulling her was Shen Feng, her expression became even more shocked. Fengzi, why are you? Zhang Wanwan didn't even have time to ask the question. Shen Feng had already reached out and held her in his arms. He hugged her tightly, as if he was afraid that she would disappear in his arms. Zhang Wanwan was stunned for a moment, but when she realized that something was wrong with Shen Feng, she finally reached out and hugged Shen Feng. The streets of Suzhou and Hang House. Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were walking on the street. Shen Feng told Zhang Wanwan his experience again. Zhang Wanwan listened carefully. She would not doubt Shen Feng like others did, because she could see that Shen Feng did not lie to her. Shen Feng spoke very seriously. So, no matter what, you always come back to number 31. Yeah, I tried everything. Whether it was smashing the phone or leaving Zhonghe City. Nothing worked. Shen Feng sighed. It's been 7 days. And I don't know when it will end. Wan Ji, I really feel so tired and depressed. Zhang Wanwan suddenly stopped, took Shen Feng's hand, and looked at Shen Feng. Fengzi, I don't know what to do to help you escape the cycle. But if you feel tired and depressed, I think I can probably help you relax. Zhang Wanwan smiled as she spoke. I know Su Heng well. Would you like me to be your tour guide and take you on a good trip? Looking at Zhang Wanwan's smile, Shen Feng seemed to feel a little relieved. He nodded, and Zhang Wanwan immediately pulled him towards the bustling lights of Suzhou and Hang House City. Snack Street, arcade, KTV. Zhang Wanwan took him to play with many things. Along the way, she kept telling jokes to Shen Feng, which made Shen Feng always have a smile on his face and temporarily forget the annoyance brought by the cycle. We strolled around until 11:50 at night. It's almost 12 o'clock again. Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan walked to a sparsely populated roadside area and found a place to sit down. How's it going, Fengzi, are you happier? Shen Feng nodded. Thank you really, thank you very much. Zhang Wanwan carelessly put her arm around Shen Feng and said with a smile. Why should I say thank you to you, Brother Wan? We are good brothers. Shen Feng nodded slightly again. Then he looked at Zhang Wanwan beside him. The light fell on her, covering her with a faint golden glow. You should have a girlfriend, and you have a good relationship. At least you like her very much. Suddenly Shen Feng remembered what the girl said on the plane. Yes, I like Wan Ji very much. It was the same in the past. Still today. And in the future too. Night, brother. Shen Feng spoke softly. Zhang Wanwan said, looked at Shen Feng and asked. What's wrong? Shen Feng swallowed and took a deep breath. Finally he looked at Zhang Wanwan seriously and said. I, like you. Zhang Wanwan seemed stunned. But he didn't stay stunned for too long. She just threw herself into Shen Feng's arms. When Shen Feng was a little at a loss, he said in a muffled voice, Silly Fengzi, I know it even if you don't tell me. When you showed up at the airport, I thought you were going to say this to me. But I didn't expect you to run into such trouble. Fengzi, can you promise me one thing? What's the matter? Shen Feng hugged Zhang Wanwan gently and asked. Zhang Wanwan said softly, if you are still in the same cycle tomorrow, can you come to me early tomorrow morning and confess your love to me? I will be staying in a hotel next to the Suzhou and Hang House film and television base. Maybe I won't know what happened, but I know I will be very happy. I will be happy all day and play with you all day. If you're not in the loop tomorrow, and we'll go get the certificate, okay? Shen Chang looked at Zhang Wanwan. Looking at the tender love in her eyes, Shen Feng nodded. Okay, I promise. In Suzhou and Hang House Square, the hour hand of the electronic clock on the big screen moved to 12. Shen Feng's eyes went dark. Soon, the familiar ringtone rang in his ears again. He knew that this was the 8th cycle. This time, though, he didn't drop his phone or complain about the cycle. He just got dressed, used his phone to book a flight to Suzhou and Hang House, and then flew to Suzhou and Hang House. After arriving in Suzhou and Hang House, he took a taxi to the film and television base, found the hotel Zhang Wanwan mentioned, and found the room where Zhang Wanwan was staying. He knocked on the door and soon saw Zhang Wanwan opening the door sleepily. Fengzi, why are you here? After Zhang Wanwan saw Shen Feng at the door, she obviously became much more sober. Wan brother. I came as promised. Shen Feng said. I like you. Chapter 407 Extra. Feng Zi's Daily Life Part 3. July 312,021. Shen Feng's 379th cycle. Shen Feng, who has experienced hundreds of cycles, has almost adapted to his current life. Although he still often complained about being woken up by the alarm clock over and over again, the date was forever stuck at the end of July. But now he has learned how to adjust his mood and relieve his worries. For example, go and play with Jiang Wanwan, or learn something. Or this is what he is doing now. At this time, Shen Feng was standing on the street in Longdian City, looking down from time to check the time. When Shen Feng was in a loop and had nothing to do, he would always search for some things on the internet. If you get tired of the news around you, just search for news from other places. Chen Cheng had seen in the news before that a very serious murder case would occur in Longdian City around 8 o'clock in the evening. Shen Feng suddenly had an idea since he had nothing to do. He might as well become a messenger of justice. So Shen Feng took a plane to Longdian City and walked to the street where the crime occurred that he had seen on Weibo before. Because the news Shen Feng saw was released by some self-media Weibo. Rather than an official announcement, it did not specify in detail which part of the street the murder occurred. Shen Feng could only wander around this street, waiting for something to happen. He waited from around 4 in the afternoon until almost 7 in the evening. When he bought a bunch of kebags from a roadside stall and was eating them while drinking beer, he suddenly saw a lot of police cars driving past him. Shen Feng quickly took the skewer and chased in the direction the police car drove away. After chasing through 2 intersections, we saw police cordonning off the scene and quite a few people seemed to want to watch. Shen Feng also squeezed forward and saw a man wearing a black short-sleeved shirt and holding a knife, holding a woman hostage. But Shen Feng seemed to be a little late. When he arrived, the man seemed to have lost control of his emotions and cut the woman's neck with a knife. Chen Cheng ate another bite of skewers. It seems that no one can be saved today. But he didn't feel too sorry. After all, he had too much time. He crossed the court indirectly, and when the police tried to stop him, he took out a small notebook from his pocket and said, "I'm a professional, let me do it." Several policemen were stunned. "What does he have?" "ISWATID, a policeman asked. "Why do I look like a driver's license?" Another policeman muttered. While they were wondering, Shen Feng had already walked up to the murderer who had just killed someone and was still holding a knife and looking around vigilantly. He looked behind the murderer again and noticed that there were 2 or 3 people lying behind him. It seems that more than one person was killed. "Brother, what's your name?" Shen Cheng walked up to the murderer and asked while handing him a skewer. The murderer glanced at Shen Feng. I looked at the skewers again. Then he stabbed Shen Feng in the stomach. Shen Feng was stabbed. The whole person fell to the ground weakly, holding the skewer of meat trembling lie. I took another one. Then his head tilted and he died. For the 380th cycle, Shen Feng went directly to the scene of the crime. At 6 o'clock, he noticed the man in black short-sleeved shirt walking towards him in a trance. He put his hands in his pockets and looked around from time to time. He looked very anxious and nervous. A female student who was playing with her cell phone was walking towards him. Because she was looking down at her phone, she didn't notice the murderer opposite her. The female student bumped into the murderer, and not only did she not apologize, she frowned at the murderer and said, "What are you doing? Don't you have eyes when you walk? You bumped into me on purpose. Trying to take advantage of me, trying to be a hooligan. Right?" The murderer lowered his head and tried to leave. But the female student refused to give in and said, "Hey, you're leaving without even saying an apology. Stop, right there." As she said this, the female student was about to grab the murderer. But when her hand touched the murderer's arm, the murderer's expression changed from anxious and nervous to hideous. He thrust his hand out from his pocket, holding a small knife. A knife was about to stab into the female student's chest. Of course Shen Feng couldn't just watch the murderer commit suicide in front of him. He immediately stepped forward and held down the murderer's arm. As a result, the murderer swung his free hand and punched Shen Feng in the face. Shen Feng immediately fell backwards, but before he hit the ground, the murderer's knife stabbed him. Cycle 381. This time, Shen Feng held down the murderer's arm when he attacked the female student. At the same time, the other hand was raised. He accurately predicted the angle of the murderer's punch and blocked the punch that knocked him out last time. Shen Feng sneered, "That's it?" And the murderer raised his foot and hit Shen Feng in the stomach. Shen Feng was kicked to the ground and then stabbed in the neck. The 390th time. After 10 failures, Shen Feng was able to fight the murderer back and forth. He also studied a set of skills to snatch blades with bare hands. When he met the murderer again this time, Shen Feng skillfully defeated him with more than 10 moves. Shen Feng, who was able to counter each other's moves, looked just like IP Man, so skilled. The female college students watching nearby were also taking videos with their mobile phones. Shen Feng also seized the opportunity and, while he had caught the murderer in an open position, He reached out and snatched the knife from the murderer's hand. Then he pointed the knife at the murderer and shouted in a deep voice, "Their only support is in my hands, give up resistance." The murderer looked at Shen Feng for 3 seconds. Then he took out a small knife from his other pocket and stabbed Shen Feng in shock. "Fuck you." Before Shen Feng died, he pointed at the murderer's nose and cursed. For the 391st time, after Shen Feng flew to Longyan City, he went straight to a hardware store and bought a hammer. After encountering the murderer, Shen Feng didn't even wait for him to collide with the female college student. He swung the hammer and hit the murderer on the head. The murderer was stunned. He stared at Shen Feng blankly for a long time. And Shen Feng hit him with the hammer again. "2 knives. Right? You're agile, right? You're going to kill me a dozen times, right? Damn you. Damn you." The murderer's head was smashed to pieces by Shen Feng's 2 or 3 hammers. So the murderer arrested in this cycle became Shen Feng. The 392nd time. Waking up again, Shen Feng sighed. Although he had vented his anger yesterday and let out the frustration of being killed by the murderer these days, but in the final analysis, this is not a perfect solution to the whole problem. Shen Feng flew to Longyan City again and waited at the intersection. This time, just like the previous 2 times, he skillfully countered the murderer's moves and snatched the first knife from the murderer's hand. And before the murderer could take out the second knife, Shen Feng raised his leg and kicked the murderer in the crotch. The murderer is also a man. All men feel pain. The murderer fell to the ground in pain, and Shen Sheng went up to him and held him down, punching him twice in the face. Then he said to the crowd watching the excitement, "What are you still looking at? Call the police. Those who are watching should call the police or post to their WeChat moments." Shen Sheng rode on the murderer, pressed his head and controlled him. But after a moment, he suddenly felt the murderer under him trembling and twitching. Shen Feng took a closer look and realized that he was actually crying. At first it was just sobbing, but slowly it turned into crying uncontrollably. While crying, he was also roaring as if to vent his anger. "Why does everyone bully me? Why? My child is lost. My wife ran away, and the company lost money. I have nothing left. I am already in this state. Why do you still bully me? Why? He howled and banged his head heavily on the ground. Shen Feng frowned. "What's wrong with this guy? Why is he suddenly playing the victim?" Shen Sheng quickly listened to the murderer's story. This murderer originally had a perfect life. He started a company, found a wife, and had a lovely child. But a few years ago, his child was abducted by human traffickers. In order to find his child, he sold all his property and ran around everywhere just to look for clues about his child. The search lasted for 3 years. After 3 years, not only did he not find his child, but his wife also ran away with someone else. He was under constant mental stress and suffered from a serious mental illness. Today should have been his child's birthday. In such pain, he wanted to go back to the intersection where his child was abducted to end his useless life. As a result, the depressed man met a bad-tempered and impolite female student, which instantly ignited the despair that this adult had been suppressing for 3 years. He is not even afraid of death, so what is the big deal about killing people? As for why he had the knives on him, this was also because he had a mental problem. He bought a knife and forgot about it, so he went to buy another one. Shen Sheng fell silent after hearing this. He did not react until the police came and took the murderer away and thanked him. 393rd cycle. Shen Feng stopped the murderer before he met the female student. When the murderer raised his head in a daze, Shen Feng slowly said, "Would you like to tell me about your child?" The murderer's eyes widened a little. He nodded and walked to the curb with Shen Feng and sat down. Shen Sheng handed him a can of beer. The murderer hesitated for a moment, and finally opened the pull ring and took a big sip. 4598th cycle. At an intersection in Longyan City. Shen Feng hadn't been here for a long time. During these 4,000 days, whenever he had free time, he would try to find a way to help the murderer, to help that man find his child. To be honest, this is like looking for a needle in a haystack. So Shen Feng's progress is very slow. But fortunately, Shen Feng has plenty of time. And during these thousands of days, he also taught himself a lot of knowledge about criminal investigation and hacking, by unraveling the mystery layer by layer. In the last cycle, Shen Feng finally got news about the man's child. The child was sold to a wealthy family and is living a good life now. And because the child was only 2 or 3 years old when he was abducted and doesn't remember much, he doesn't seem to know that someone is desperately looking for him. If you want to see him, go to this address. Shen Feng stopped the man whom he hadn't seen for a long time and handed him the note with the little boy's address. The man took the note and a photo of a little boy printed out by Shen Feng with trembling hands. Looking at the smiling face of the little boy in the photo, the man's tears fell unconsciously. He hugged the photo tightly and squatted on the ground. Then he burst into tears. Shen Feng stood beside the man, looking at him silently. 4599th cycle. As usual, Shen Feng saw the news about a murderer in Longyan City on Weibo in the evening. His expression was calm, showing no sign of surprise or regret. He also didn't feel that everything he did was in vain. He has now spent 10 years in the cycle and has grown a lot. He understood that he might be helping men just to pass the time. Nothing more. Of course, deep down in his heart, he might also be hoping that a man in some time and space can be saved by him. That couldn't be better. After breaking out of the loop, Shen Feng told Zhang Wanwan about this incident as a story when he was telling her a bedtime story. I specifically watched the news on August 1 and found out that he had been arrested. So I never looked for that man again. Shen Feng sighed. As a father and a man, he may be worthy of pity, but as a murderer, he deserves his punishment and does not deserve mercy. And in the 800 years of the cycle, I have done too many meaningless things like this. In that cycle, I couldn't change anything. The only thing I could change was myself. Zhang Wanwan was lying on the bed, and suddenly reached out and held Shen Feng's hand, and gently squeezed it. Shen Feng was startled, and then he saw Zhang Wanwan smiling, very sweetly. There must be a man in a different time and space who was saved by you. He will find his son, reunite with his family, and make up for his regrets. He will return to the right path, rebuild his family, start a business and restore his former glory. So your efforts are not in vain. Feng Zi, you are a hero. Shen Feng smiled, lowered his head and kissed Zhang Wanwan on the face. Thank you, late brother. But for me now, being your hero is enough. Chapter 408, Feng Zi's Daily Life Part 4. July 31, 2021. Shen Feng's 365th cycle. Today is the one-year anniversary of Shen Feng falling into the cycle. Shen Feng decided to give himself an anniversary gift. Early in the morning, he borrowed hundreds of thousands of yuan from the internet. In this year of the cycle, when he first ran out of money, he thought of robbing a bank. But later Shen Sheng found that robbing money was too troublesome. Not only is it easy to fail, but you will also be hunted for a whole day. It is not as convenient as borrowing money. He doesn't have to pay back the borrowed money anyway. After borrowing the loan, Shen Feng went spending with a swagger. He first found a hair salon and got his hair done. When Shen Feng arrived, there were quite a few people in the store. The boss also said that he had an appointment, and asked Shen Feng to come back in the afternoon. Shen Feng glanced at the payment code on the boss's desk and scanned 1,000 yuan to the boss. I'm in a hurry, can I go earlier? Shen Feng asked. The boss frowned, seeming a little conflicted. Brother, our shop is honest. Since you are here, you should know that this is the top hair salon in Zhonghe. Reputation is our priority. Shen Feng scanned another 1,000 yuan. Brother, don't be like this. To be frank, it's not uncommon for people to spend 3 to 5,000 yuan to get a haircut here. I can't break the rules for your little money. Shen Feng swept another 1,000. I say, there's really no need for you to do this. I can't ruin my lifelong good reputation just because of this little money. Shen Feng scanned 10,000 yuan. The boss immediately shouted to the busy barber. Jack, cut this gentleman's hair first. But boss, there are people waiting in line and making appointments behind us. This gentleman made an appointment yesterday, I forgot. Hurry up, don't keep him waiting. After getting her hair cut, Shen Feng asked the people in the store to help her with some simple makeup. Then he went to the mall, found a high-end clothing store, and picked out a high-end suit that fit him well. With his neatly combed hair and a neat and mature suit, Shen Feng, who already has good looks, looks even more handsome and stylish. Even the clerk in the clothing store couldn't help but look at Shen Feng several times. When Shen Feng was paying the bill, he also asked Shen Feng if he was single. Shen Feng just smiled and shook his head, saying, sorry, I have a girlfriend. The store clerk was very disappointed. Afterwards, Shen Feng went to the jewelry store to buy a diamond ring and went to the flower shop to order 99 roses. Finally we arrived at the Century building where Zhang Wanwan was going to stay that night. This building is actually a large shopping mall that integrates entertainment, shopping, catering, hotels, etc. Although Zhang Wanwan had a small villa, she was already very tired after dragging her luggage on the plane back to Zhonghe City. Her villa was very far from the airport and it took about an hour to take a taxi. That's why she would rest for one night at Century building and plan to go back to the villa the next day. It's just 4 o'clock in the afternoon and Zhang Wanwan hasn't come from Suzhou and Hanghouse yet. Shen Chang found the front desk of the Century building hotel and booked the room where Zhang Wanwan would stay for the party. And he said to the receptionist, tonight, a girl named Zhang Wanwan will also come here to book a room. I hope you can help me and open this room for her. She is my girlfriend and I am planning to propose to her. I hope it will be a surprise for her. The waitress at the front desk is a girl. Seeing Shen Feng dressed in a sunny and handsome manner, I have a good impression of him. But she still shook her head and said, I'm sorry sir, this is not in compliance with our hotel's regulations. I understand your feelings and thoughts, but I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. Well, is your manager or boss here now? Can you make an appointment for me? I'll talk to them. The waiter nodded and dialed the manager's office. The manager was happily hugging his secretary, but when he heard the call from the front desk, his interest suddenly decreased by 3 points and his anger increased by 3 points. He answered the phone somewhat unhappily and said, "Hello, what's up?" "Manager, there's someone at the front desk who wants to see you. He wants to confess his law to his girlfriend. Can we help him?" A waiter at the front desk told the manager a brief account of what happened. And the more the manager listened, the more annoyed he became. Just because of such a trivial matter, his fun was disturbed. "Let him come up to me." After hanging up the phone, the manager gritted his teeth. "You ruined my plan. So his plan won't work either. I'm going to make this kid suffer a great defeat." Soon, Shen Feng arrived at the manager's office. When he opened the door, Shen Feng saw the manager sitting on the leather sofa with his legs crossed, looking very arrogant. Seeing Shen Feng coming, the manager just glanced at him, then said coldly with aloofness, "Tell me what you want from me. The clerk at the front desk should have told you just now." Shen Feng said. "She said it, and you said it." The manager lit a cigarette and took a. "I'm in a bad mood right now, and I want to hear you talk now. If you want me to help you, just tell me. If I tell you, will you help? It depends on my mood." The manager said in a very arrogant manner. Shen Feng turned around and left. The manager sighed and frowned, saying, "It's boring, this guy doesn't even dare to argue with me. What a coward. Come on, Xiaoli, let's continue." The manager hugged the secretary beside him again. At this time, before he could take to kisses, there was another knock on the door. The manager's face turned green. Usually few people come to see him all day. Why are there so many things today? He straightened his clothes and said in a deep voice, "Come in." When the door was opened, the manager saw Shen Feng coming again. When the manager saw it was Shen Feng, his expression became even uglier. "Why, didn't you just turn around and leave? Now you come back and want me to help you?" The manager crossed his legs and said, "It's much harder for me to help you now than before." Shen Feng threw a black plastic bag to the manager. The manager looked at the plastic bag in confusion. After seeing the stacks of red bills inside, the manager's expression changed immediately. When he looked up at Shen Feng again, the manager's face was immediately filled with smiles. "Brother, please sit down." When Zhang Wanwan arrived at the Century Building after a long journey, it was already dark outside. She randomly checked in at the front desk and went upstairs. He didn't notice the strange look from the front desk clerk at all. Zhang Wanwan dragged her suitcase upstairs tiredly, arrived at her room, and swiped her card to open the door. Seeing the room was completely dark, she reached out to turn on the light. But then she felt a hand in the darkness grabbing her wrist. Zhang Wanwan was originally timid and afraid of ghosts. She was immediately frightened and almost screamed. But before she could scream, she felt someone cover her mouth with lips. Someone is kissing her. This made Zhang Wanwan certain that the person hiding in the dark was a human and not a ghost. And also made Zhang Wanwan suddenly furious. She raised her leg and kicked the man who was kissing her hard between the legs. Afterwards, Zhang Wanwan felt this man slowly let go of her and then fell to the ground. You bastard, damn you." Zhang Wanwan kicked the other person hard a few more times before turning on the light in the room. When she saw the warm and romantic room decorated by Shen Feng, and Shen Feng, who was wearing a suit, covered with footprints, and lying on the ground in pain, covering himself somewhere, Zhang Wanwan was completely confused. "Maple Feng. Fengzi." She quickly called an ambulance and sent Shen Feng to the hospital. When the hospital's examination results came out, the doctor only said one sentence to Zhang Wanwan. "Sister, what grudge does he have against you? You are too ruthless." Zhang Wanwan stayed by the bed with guilt, wiping her tears and saying sorry to Shen Feng. Shen Feng lay on the bed, feeling helpless. In order to comfort Zhang Wanwan, he could only explain to her, "Brother Wan, actually you don't have to worry. I am in a cycle now after 12 o'clock at night. I will return to 6 o'clock in the morning on the 31st. And all my injuries will be healed." When Zhang Wanwan heard this, she cried even harder. Then she called a doctor and asked him if she had kicked Shen so hard that he became stupid. He also asked whether mental illness can be cured. Shen was even more speechless. 366th cycle. Shen felt depressed after failing to confess his love and being beaten up. But he couldn't find Zhang Wanwan to vent his depressed mood. After much thought, he finally came up with a way to relieve his boredom. He rushed into the manager's office of Century Building and grabbed the manager who was about to kiss his secretary and started beating him up. Not only was the manager's good deeds discovered, but he was also beaten for no apparent reason, leaving him completely dumbfounded. "No, can you tell me why you hit me? I'm not in a good mood." As Shen Feng spoke, he hit the manager on the head again. The manager looked at Shen Feng bitterly. Then how can you not hit me? It depends on my mood. After Shen Feng finished speaking, he swung another punch. The manager cried, crying so loudly. Chapter 409 Extra, Zhang Wanwan's Daily Life? This setting is purely for fun and has nothing to do with the main text. July 31, 2021. Zhang Wanwan's 500th cycle. Waking up from bed, Zhang Wanwan pressed the ringing alarm on her cell phone. She got up and went to the bathroom, washed her face and looked in the mirror. Then he sighed. She has cycled 499 times as of July 31, 2021. Her name is Zhang Wanwan, and she is from Qingliu County, Zhangye City. I'm in college now, and it's summer vacation, so I took a part-time job. As a result, inexplicably, it was stuck on July 31st. She is woken up by the ringing of her cell phone at 6 o'clock every morning no matter whether she smashed her cell phone or committed suicide yesterday. She couldn't break out of this cycle. But now, Zhang Wanwan also has a way to relieve the boredom brought by the cycle. For example, go find her childhood sweetheart, Shen Feng. Shen Cheng grew up with Zhang Wanwan, but Shen Feng's family background was better. Moreover, Shen Feng was selected by a scout when he was in high school, filmed several movies, and became a small star. Shen Feng's parents disliked Zhang Wanwan's bad temper and said she was like a tomboy. They also said that Zhang Wanwan was a bad influence on Shen Feng and had always opposed Zhang Wanwan and Shen Feng's relationship. But now they are stuck in a cycle, and no one can stop Zhang Wanwan from doing anything she wants to Shen Feng. She simply tied her hair up, then left the dormitory and booked a flight to Suzhou and Hanghouse. Zhang Wanwan already knows that Shen Feng is now in Suzhou and Hanghouse City. She wanted to find Shen Feng when she was with Shen Feng. Zhang Wanwan would forget a little about the boredom of the cycle. And Shen Cheng is the only one who is willing to believe what she said about the cycle. After arriving in Suzhou and Hanghouse by plane, Zhang Wanwan went to the West Lake, bought a drink, and sat on a bench waiting. After hundreds of cycles, Zhang Wanwan already knew Shen Feng's entire schedule for the day. She knew very well that Shen Feng would pass by here. As expected, Zhang Wanwan had been waiting for less than 5 minutes when she saw a tall man wearing a mask and sunglasses walking towards her. Zhang Wanwan lowered her head and did not move after the man walked past. Zhang Wanwan suddenly spoke, using the technique of false voice to make her voice dull, and then said, "Hey, handsome, you dropped your things." Shen Cheng turned around and was obviously slightly startled when he saw Zhang Wanwan. Zhang Wanwan smiled and hugged Shen Feng. "Your girlfriend is gone. Wanwan brother, why are you here?" Shen Feng was obviously very surprised to see Zhang Wanwan appear here. "I came to play with you. Why? Are you unhappy?" Zhang Wanwan said with a smile. "Of course I'm happy, but the girlfriend you just mentioned. Me, don't you want me to be your girlfriend?" "No, Shen Cheng was at a loss for a moment. He stuttered for a long time, and finally said with a silly smile, "I'm very happy. I didn't expect you would be willing to be my girlfriend." Shen Feng had confessed to Zhang Wanwan before, but Zhang Wanwan refused. In fact, that was because Shen Feng's parents threatened Zhang Wanwan, saying that if Zhang Wanwan and Shen Feng were just friends, they would turn a blind eye. If Zhang Wanwan wanted to be Shen Feng's girlfriend, causing Shen Feng to lose female fans and delaying his career, then they would never agree for the two of them to be together. Before, Zhang Wanwan listened to Shen Feng's parents and rejected Shen Feng's confession for the sake of Shen Feng's career. The before was the before, and the now is the now. Zhang Wanwan hooked her finger at Shen Feng and said with a smile, "Come on Fengzi, lower your head, I have a surprise for you." Shen Cheng lowered his head in confusion, but he saw Zhang Wanwan pulling off his mask and tiptoeing and kissing him directly on the lips. This sudden kiss made Shen Feng stunned. He stared blankly, his hands stretched out helplessly, not knowing where to put them. Her face turned red, she was so shy. Seeing Shen Feng like this, Zhang Wanwan couldn't help but smile even more happily. Every time she sees Feng Zi being nervous and shy, she finds it very fresh and cute. Even if I have watched it hundreds of times, I will never get tired of it. How does it feel? Is it sweet? Sweet, sweet. Shen Feng nodded with a red face, looking shy like a little wife. You still want a kiss? Zhang Wanwan asked again. Like a little devil. Of course Shen Feng thought about it. But being young and innocent, he was too embarrassed to speak out. After hesitating for a while, he whispered, "I want to. I think it's not impossible, but you have to answer a question for me first." Zhang Wanwan blinked playfully, then cleared her throat. "Excuse me, classmate Shen Feng, where are you from?" "I?" Shen Cheng seemed very confused. How difficult was this question? "I'm from Qingliu County, Zhangye City." No. But Zhang Wanwan shook her head deeply, and then said earnestly, "You are my sweetheart. The innocent Shen Sheng had never been baptized by such cheesy love words, and her already red face was now so hot that you could fry an egg on it. Zhang Wanwan smiled and hugged Shen Feng's arm. Okay. Okay, you answered wrong. There will be no next kiss for now. How about this, you take me around Suzhou and Hanghouse and have some fun. If I have fun, I'll kiss you again, okay, my little boyfriend. Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were childhood sweethearts. They often played together when they were young, and Shen Feng often pulled and hugged Zhang Wanwan. But when he was close to Zhang Wanwan before, he had never felt such throbbing and heat as he did now. Especially when Zhang Wanwan said little boyfriend, in a deliberately coquettish tone. Shen Sheng felt his legs go weak. Why is Wan Ji so different today? But this is the late brother. He likes. Shen Feng took Zhang Wanwan on a tour of several scenic spots in Suzhou and Hanghouse. Zhang Wanwan basically spent the entire time hugging Shen Feng's or more holding Shen Feng's hand. But soon, Shen Feng received a call. Zhang Wanwan looked at the caller ID and saw 2 words written on it. Sister King. Zhang Wanwan knew that this was a call from Shen Feng's agent King. Shen Sheng quickly answered the call, although the speakerphone was not on. Zhang Wanwan, who was leaning against Shen Feng, still heard King's voice on the phone. Shen Feng, what are you doing? I didn't do anything. What happened? Oh, you're still asking me. All the photos uploaded on Weibo right now are of a woman hugging you while you travel around Suzhou and Hanghouse. King's voice was filled with anger. Don't you know how many of your fans are girlfriends? 80%. You found a girlfriend, and you dare to bring her out in public so openly. Don't you know how many of the 80 of your girlfriend's fans will quit and how many will turn against you? Hurry up and clarify on Weibo, just say that this woman is your sister or something like that. In short, you have to calm your girlfriend fans down. Otherwise, you'll be completely confused. Do you understand? Shen Sheng hesitated for a moment. He looked at Zhang Wanwan beside him. Finally, he whispered to King, Sister King, I really like her. I don't want to let her down, and I don't want to deceive my fans. So, I'm sorry, Sister King. Having said that, Shen Feng hung up the phone. Then he mustered up his courage, turned around and looked at Zhang Wanwan and said, Brother Wan, I have something I want to discuss with you. What is it? Tell me. Zhang Wanwan had a smile on her face, as if she knew what Shen Feng was going to say. I want to take a photo with you. Is that okay? Certainly. Zhang Wanwan nodded, and the two stood together. Shen Sheng took out his phone and turned on the selfie mode. After framing the 2 people in the camera, Shen Feng felt a little guilty and said nervously, Wan Ji, can you come closer? Zhang Wanwan moved her face closer to Shen Feng again. Then can you get closer? Shen Feng's face had begun to turn red. But he still said so. He has already made up his mind. When Zhang Wanwan got close enough, he kissed her. Then take a photo and post it on Weibo. He wanted to officially announce his love with Wan Ji, even if it would dim his star career. Seeing that Zhang Wanwan was getting very close, Shen Sheng plucked up his courage, turned around and was about to kiss Zhang Wanwan on the cheek. But what Shen Feng didn't expect was, Zhang Wanwan seemed to have known all this for a long time. She turned her head at the same time as him. She kissed him too. The 2 people's lips suddenly touched each other. The warm, sour and sweet touch made Shen Feng feel like his brain was about to stop functioning. For a moment he even forgot to press the shutter to capture this scene. It was Zhang Wanwan who reached out and tapped on the phone that Shen Feng was holding. Click. The 2 people in the mobile phone camera were frozen forever. Outside the camera, Zhang Wanwan was already hugging Shen Feng, kissing him even more deeply. Chapter 410, Extra. A few things about the growth of brother and sister Weiyu and Yu King. 1. Feng Zi. Who do you think learned to speak first, Shuo or Shao King? Feng Zi, do you think they can understand us if we talk now? Feng Zi, how do we teach them to talk? Feng Zi, what do you think the first word our child will say is dad or mom? But months have passed since Shen Weiyu and Shen Yu King. Zhang Wanwan would pull Shen Feng aside every day to ask him questions, because she had checked on the internet that babies can usually learn to call dad or mom at around 8 months old. Shen Weiyu and Shen Yu King lived up to Zhang Wanwan's expectations. When they were 8 months and 1 week old, the 2 little guys happily stretched out their little hands towards Shen Feng and shouted out the first meaningful word in their lives. Feng Zi. Shen Feng. Zhang Wanwan. 2. After the 2 little ones' 1-year-old birthday, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan went out to film. When they came back 2 or 3 months later, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan discovered that the 2 little guys could actually walk. Not only can they walk, but they can also kick the small ball that Tang Ping bought for them. That day, Jiatnan brought the pregnant Li Ting to play with Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan. Seeing Shen Yu King playing football, Li Ting said with a smile, "This little girl plays football quite well, she can become a female football player in the future." Zhang Wanwan smiled and asked Shen Feng to get drinks and snacks for Li Ting and Jiat Nan. Jiat Nan saw Shen Weiyu snatching the ball from her sister Shen Yuqing and kicking it. So he said, I think Shuo is also good at kicking. She will definitely be able to join the men's football team in the future. Zhang Wanwan's face suddenly darkened. He took away the drinks and snacks in front of Jiat Nan. Jiat Nan. 3. Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing may have inherited some of Zhang Wanwan's IQ. Other people's babies can speak a few short sentences at the age of 2. But when Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing were 2 years old, they could only say words that other children would say, such as dad, mom, grandpa, and grandma. At most, they can say Feng Zi and Wang Yi more than other children. This made Zhang Wanwan feel a little worried. Feng Zi, the kid next door, can read stories with his parents at the age of 2.5. But our Shuo and Xiao Qian can even speak a complete sentence. What should we do? Although Shen Feng didn't think this was a big problem, seeing Zhang Wanwan so worried, he still gave her some advice. You can try to lead them to read some stories and let them try to learn from you. Zhang Wanwan nodded and then found a bunch of fairy tales. Once upon a time, there was a little Red Riding Hood who lived in the forest. Once upon a time, there was a big bad wolf. Once upon a time, there was a princess. Zhang Wanwan told stories for the whole afternoon. I did gain something from it. Although they didn't learn to read sentences, they learned a new word. Once upon a time. However, these two little guys have some difficulty in speaking clearly. Then, when Zhang Wanwan was sitting next to her crib playing games at night and complaining about why she couldn't beat others, she heard the two little guys next to her shout, "Recharge! Zhang Wanwan!" Zhang Wanwan looked at Shen Feng. Why don't you give Tang Xun a call and ask them if they recruit child laborers? 4. When they were 2.5 years old, Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing were finally able to speak a few words and ask some questions. Zhang Wanwan and Shen Feng took the two little ones out to play. The two little guys were like curious babies, pointing at things around them and asking questions. Is it like a forest? This is a flower. Is it like a forest? This is grass. Is it like a forest? This is uncle and aunt. Call them uncle and aunt. Seeing Shen Weiyu pointing at a couple passing by, Zhang Wanwan started to teach the two children. Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing nodded cutely, and then politely said to the couple, Auntie Su. Oh, they are so cute. These two babies are just like two little porcelain owls. The couple passing by were also very easy to talk to. When they saw how cute the baby was, the girl and the couple even bent down and rubbed Shen Weiyu's little head. Then she looked at her boyfriend behind her with some surprise and said, Hey, look at these two babies, don't they look a bit like Feng Zi and Wanwan? Zhang Wanwan's face froze as she disguised herself with sunglasses and a mask before going out. However, the girl didn't seem to think too deeply about it, but just entertained the two children. She first pointed at herself and asked Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing, Baby, who am I? That aunt. The two little guys said in unison. The girl pointed at her boyfriend next to her. Who is he then? Su. The two little guys said again. The girl pointed at Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan who were in disguise. She thought the two little ones would call Mom and Dad. But unexpectedly, the two little cuties blurted out, Feng Zi, Wan Ji. The girl and her boyfriend looked up in surprise and looked at Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan. Other passers-by also stopped and looked at the two. Therefore, this trip turned into a fan meeting for Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan. 5. Every child is naughty and disobedient sometimes. When Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing were 4.5 years old, the two little guys did something bad together. Not only did she steal the birthday cake that Shen Feng bought for Zhang Wanwan, she also broke a porcelain doll that Shen Feng had personally made for Zhang Wanwan. Zhang Wanwan was naturally very unhappy, and gave the two little guys a severe lesson. As a result, the two little guys didn't take it seriously and looked like they didn't care. Zhang Wanwan and Shen Xiao that this was because they had never really been angry with the two little guys. So the two little guys were not afraid at all. So Zhang Wanwan decided to get really angry and spank the two little guys to let them know who is the boss in the family. However, considering the personal safety of the two little guys, Shen Cheng didn't dare let Zhang Wanwan do the beating. He was afraid that the child could not withstand a blow from his elder brother. He personally hit Shen Weiyu on the butt twice as expected. Shen Weiyu became scared when he started to do so. Not only did he cry loudly, but he also scared Shen Yuqing who was standing beside him and started crying too. Seeing this, Zhang Wanwan educated him from the side. You steal food because you are greedy, and you break things because you are careless. These are not serious matters. But you did something wrong and didn't admit your mistake honestly and obediently, which made Mom and Dad very angry. Mom will ask you again. Will you admit your mistakes in the future? Shen Weiyu cried and said. If you admit it, you won't be beaten anymore? That's right. If you admit your mistakes, you won't be beaten. Tell me. What did you do wrong this time? Wow, we shouldn't steal the cake. And we shouldn't break things. Zhang Wanwan nodded with satisfaction. But Shen Weiyu was still crying and said, you shouldn't have poured out Mom's perfume or broken Mom's lipstick. Zhang Wanwan's expression changed slightly. He slowly rolled up his sleeves. Shen Feng pulled Zhang Wanwan and advised, Brother Wan, calm down, this is your own child. Then Shen Yuking also cried and said, I shouldn't have damaged the clothes that Dad knitted for Mom. And I also broke the flowers that Dad raised. Shen Feng looked at a corner of the room. Only then did he realize that the sweater he had been knitting halfway for Zhang Wanwan had now turned into a tangled ball of yarn. The pot of flowers that Zhang Wanwan had given him as a birthday gift also became broken and leafless. Shen Feng. He silently let go of the hand that was holding Zhang Wanwan. Go ahead, Wan brother. Shen Weiyu Shen Yuking. Shen Weiyu Shen Yuking. Isn't it okay to stop fighting if you admit your mistake? Chapter 411 Extra. Weiyu and Yuking's first day of kindergarten. Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuking are old enough to go to kindergarten. Today is the two little ones' first day to go to kindergarten. So Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan disguised themselves and went to send them off in person. As a result, the security guard at the door stared at Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan with vigilance from beginning to end. At first Zhang Wanwan wondered if they had been recognized by the security guard. Afterwards, I asked the security guard and found out that they were wearing masks, sunglasses, and hats in the middle of summer, wrapped up tightly. Which was really suspicious. The security guard suspected that they were child traffickers. After sending Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuking to the kindergarten teacher, Zhang Wanwan and Shen Feng left. Sitting in the passenger seat, Zhang Wanwan smiled and looked at Shen Feng beside her and said, Feng Zi, do you think they will be obedient on the first day of kindergarten? I don't know if they will be scared or cry for their parents. Shen Feng also smiled and said, it's hard to say whether they will be obedient or not. And it's also hard to say whether they will be scared or not. But they probably won't cry and look for their parents. Compared to the two of us, they might think of looking for their grandparents first. Zhang Wanwan pursed her lips. That's true. Although she and Feng Zi have set aside time to spend with their children in recent years, at least half of the year is spent outside filming dramas and appearing on variety shows. The ones who usually take care of the children more are Zhang Zhe, Suyan, Shen Xiaoji Yuo and Tang Ping. Suyan even joked that the two little ones saw their parents on EB more often than in real life. What Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan didn't expect was, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the kindergarten teacher called me. He said that he would ask them to go to the school and have a good talk about the siblings Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuking. At first they thought that the two little ones were not adapting to kindergarten life and wanted to go home. Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were quite surprised after all. These two little guys were usually very hardy at home. They didn't expect that their parents would be called to the kindergarten before they even lasted one day. But when I arrived at the kindergarten and asked the teacher, I found out that it was not the case at all. In the kindergarten teacher's office, Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuking were sitting on small stools in the corner with their heads lowered, as if they were confessing. The kindergarten teacher sat next to them, looking extremely worried. Seeing Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, who were wrapped tightly, coming in, the kindergarten teacher was stunned for a moment, and then said, Are you Shuo and Xiaoking's parents? Yes. Zhang Wanwan nodded. Then would it be convenient for you to take off your sunglasses, mask and hat to talk? Inconvenient. All right. The kindergarten teacher sighed, then slowly said, I invited you here to discuss your children's education issues. Do you know what Shuo and Xiaoking did after they came to the kindergarten? Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan both shook their heads. The teacher pointed at the two babies and said, After you sent them to the classroom, they were quite well behaved at first. Other babies cried and yelled not to let their parents leave, and didn't want to stay here by themselves, but these two didn't cry or make a fuss, and they were very peaceful. But when the other children's parents finally calmed their babies down and left, the two of them started to lie to the babies who had just stopped crying, saying that their parents had lied to them and that their parents would not come to pick them up. The babies started crying again. I and other teachers consoled them for a long time, telling them that their parents would come to pick them up in the evening. Only then did they stop crying. After a while, they told the other kids that the teacher had lied to them and was going to sell them off. The babies started crying again. The whole building could hear our class's babies crying. Teachers from other classes had to come to help and finally calm them down. Zhang Wanwan's eyelids twitched. My goodness, where do these two little guys get these ideas? But the teacher obviously hadn't finished yet. She continued to complain. At lunchtime, the two little ones told the other babies not to eat food given by strangers, which made many babies afraid to eat. Just when it was time for a nap, they told the other babies not to sleep, or they would be put into sacks and sold. In the end, not only did the babies in our class not sleep well, But the babies in other classes were afraid to sleep either. I have no choice but to call them out first and then call you too. I want to ask how you educated your children before. And why Jiwo and Xiaoqing are like this. Zhang Wanwan squatted down and looked at Shen Huiyu and Shen Yuqing, who were sitting on the small benches. Seeing the two little treasures lowering their heads, Zhang Wanwan said sternly, "Tell Li, why did you want to make trouble? Who taught you to do that?" Shen Huiyu whispered, "I heard from my grandma before that my mother did this when she was in kindergarten." Zhang Wanwan, "Has she ever done this?" Shen Yuqing at the side also said, "Grandma also said that when my mother was a child, she stole the teacher's mobile phone and then asked for the mobile phone numbers of the parents of other babies, called the parents of other babies, and finally the babies were picked up by their parents." Zhang Wanwan, "Did she really do that?" Shen Huiyu added, "Grandma also said that my mother lied to the kids in other classes, saying that today was a holiday. When the kids in other classes saw that the kids in my mother's class had been picked up by their parents, they also cried and shouted for their parents to pick them up. In the end, the whole kindergarten was closed that day." Zhang Wanwan, "She has no recollection of doing such a thing." Zhang Wanwan looked at Shen Feng with a look of doubt about life. After remembering that he was wearing sunglasses, he pulled them down a little. Then he looked at Shen Feng again with a look of doubt about life. Shen Feng nodded gently. "I think I also heard my mother-in-law say that." Zhang Wanwan held her forehead and squatted on the ground, doubting her life for 3 seconds. Then he stood up and apologized to the teacher. "I'm sorry, teacher, I didn't set a good example." At this time, the teacher's face was full of horror and fear. Fortunately, she called the parents of Shen Yuqing and Shen Huiyu in time. Otherwise, their kindergarten would probably have to stage a farce of collective holiday today. When Zhang Wanwan was admitting her mistake, another teacher walked in from outside. She seemed to be teaching the children knowledge when she saw that Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan seemed to be the parents of Shen Yuqing and Shen Huiyu. She immediately came over. "You two, what do you usually teach these to children?" A teacher also looked like a victim. "I have been teaching in kindergarten for 4 or 5 years, and I have never encountered a child like this. When I started teaching them to read ABC, Shen Huiyu suddenly raised her hand and asked me, 'Teacher, do you know what the longest English word is?' I thought he was very studious. So I started to think seriously about which English word was the longest, and searched online. I found that pneumokiniaxians was the longest word." As soon as I said that, Shen Huiyu actually shook her head. "Then tell me, the longest word in English is longest." Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan. The two looked at each other. Then Shen Feng coughed lightly and said to the teacher, It seems that he is not wrong. Of course I know what I said is correct. But isn't this just a joke on me?" The teacher looked angry and said, "And this is not the most annoying thing later, when I taught them the multiplication table. I said 1 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 plus 2 equals 2. So what is 1 plus 3? Your Shen Yuqing stood up and said, "There is no room for 2 tigers in one mountain." Zhang Wanwan couldn't help it. When the teacher cast a resentful look at her, Zhang Wanwan waved her hands and said, Sorry. I choked. "Actually, this is not a big deal. The most annoying thing is that I am a fan of the Quan Suo couple, and my phone wallpaper is a photo of Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan. And these two little guys happened to see it. They started shouting that these were their parents, and they said I chose an ugly photo. I don't care how these two little guys play tricks on me, but I'm not happy when they say that I'm their idol. Besides, you are their parents, and you must be very angry when you hear your own children pointing at others and calling them mom and dad. Right?" The teacher said this. Shen Chang and Zhang Wanwan were both more or less a little embarrassed. After saying this, the teacher seemed to remember something. Suddenly he looked at Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, who were wrapped tightly with surprise. Then he said hesitantly, "Can you guys take off your masks and sunglasses?" "I'm sorry, teacher. I will definitely go back and discipline these two children and make them mend their ways. It's getting late now. I won't bother you two anymore. Goodbye." Zhang Wanwan said all this in a hurry, then pulled Shen Feng and turned around and ran away. The teacher in the office stared at the two people's backs as they left for a long time, until they saw Shen Huiyu and Shen Yuqing still sitting on the small stool, swinging their legs and blinking their eyes. The two teachers then anxiously shouted at the backs of Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, "Children, you forgot to take your child away." Chapter 412. Jiang Tianming and Li Yuya's Travel Life Part 1. 1. The incident happened shortly after Jiang Tianming and Li Yuya confirmed their relationship. After finishing filming, Youth Group, Jiang Tianming returned home and told his father that he wanted to buy a car. Father Jiang pointed at the luxury cars in his garage and said angrily, "Are there not enough cars for you to drive?" Jiang Tianming said seriously, "I want to buy an RV and go traveling with Yuya. She had such a hard life before. I want to take her to see more beautiful scenery." Father Jiang pointed at Jiang Tianming again and said angrily, Why didn't you say so earlier? Buy it now. How much is the difference? Jiang Qianming shook his head. I'm not here to ask you for money, I'm just telling you. And Yuya also said that she doesn't want me to touch the family's money. Let's discuss and use the money I earn from recording the show and the money she earns from being my sister's assistant to buy a car. I made about 500,000 after filming, youth team. And she saved 10,000 or 20,000 as an assistant, which is about enough. Father Zhang pointed at Jiang Qianming again and said angrily. It doesn't matter if you ride a bicycle, but the daughter-in-law of the Zhang family cannot bear this grievance. I will give you another 2 million. Jiang Qianming looked helpless. Dad, I told her that she doesn't want to spend too much of the family's money. Father Zhang pointed at Jiang Qianming again and said angrily. The more she says this, the more sensible and obedient she is. The better you should treat her. Li Yuya walked out from the next room. He said to Jiang's father, Dad, there's really no need. We are just going out to have fun, not to do our jobs. So how can we spend the family's money? Besides, Shuo and I, the Yanming and I have also picked out a car model. That car is more than enough for our needs. Father Zhang pointed at Jiang Qianming again, and said angrily. Look at Yuya's awareness, and look at you. Jiang Qianming, you are right. Do. Jiang Qianming and Li Yuya bought an RV. The price is not too expensive, at least compared to the luxury cars in Jiang Qianming's garage. It is definitely not expensive. The brothers who helped Jiang Qianming get the car were all surprised. This is not like your taste. She asked for it. Jiang Qianming said with a smile. The brother who was driving the car sighed in jealousy, then squinted at Jiang Qianming and said, Before, we were wondering if you would be the last one to find a partner. But we didn't expect you to be so fast. And your partner is both pretty and sensible, which is rare. Jiang Qianming shook his head. She is not my type. The brother who got the car was stunned, and then said, Don't tell me she is your long-lost sister, then you might as well change your name to Duan Yu. Fuck you, sister. Jiang Qianming rolled his eyes. What I mean is, she is not my girlfriend, she is my wife. As he spoke, Jiang Qianming took out a red book from his pocket and waved it in front of his brothers. The brothers' eyes were wide open. After a long while, he said, You still carry your marriage certificate with you. Are you really here to irritate me? Stop talking nonsense and get the RV ready for me. I'll be driving out for fun in a few days. Okay, hey. Your car's shock absorbers are just so can you fix them? Change. What about the brakes? Can I give you a brake disc with stronger performance? Oh, let's change the interior too. I think the toilet inside is pretty ordinary. Wanna change it? Change. Should we get a better microwave than the one in the kitchen? Ali? Do you want me to install another computer for you? Install. At the beginning, it was the brother who worked on the car who asked Jiang Qianming if he wanted to modify anything. Later on, Jiang Qianming took the initiative to ask this brother to replace parts on the car. Replace the bed in the car with a soft one and remove the cabinet on top. Otherwise Yuya will bump into it when she gets up. Make room here for Yuya to practice yoga, and take down the things here to build a wardrobe for Yuya. Let's get a speaker here and a projector here so we can watch movies. Oh, and the refrigerator, we also need a bigger one. Also, can this space be extended a little bit? The brother who got the car calculated the price for Jiang Qianming at first, but later he simply stopped calculating. After Jiang Qianming finished talking, the brother who was driving the car said, Actually, I have a suggestion that can meet your requirements more conveniently. What suggestions? If you buy a more expensive car, these problems will basically be solved. The brother said, That won't work. My wife said we should buy a car in this price range. We can't spend more. But the problem is that it's not cheap to add all these things. Jiang Qianming shook his head. That's different. The brother was puzzled. What's the difference? I have to pay for the car, but I don't have to pay for the modification. Brother, you really are Jiang Wanwan's brother. A brother was very loyal and really listened to Jiang Qianming and modified the car for him. And this RV was fine for excessive modifications. 3. After adjusting the modification, Jiang Qianming and Li Yuya went to draw a good license plate number 521. Embark on a journey of traveling around the world in an RV. Today is the first day of our trip together. Jiang Qianming and Li Yuya left home early in the morning. We got on the RV and headed north. As a result, I encountered the morning rush hour and was stuck in the city for more than an hour. After finally reaching the highway exit, there was a traffic jam. We waited in line for a long time again. This caused Li Yuya to send out several WeChat messages. Jiang Qianming was very confused and asked Li Yuya, Yuya, who did you send WeChat to? J. Adnam. Why send him a WeChat message? Ask him if he is also in our city and if he is also on the highway. Jiang Qianming, although Xiao Jia is a bit unlucky, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the bad luck is related to him. At this time, Liu Ya raised her phone. Hey, he replied. He said he was driving through our city and was planning to take the highway. He also said there was an RV in front of him with a license plate number of 521. It was quite romantic. Speaking of this, Liu Ya suddenly paused. Why does this license plate number look familiar? It sounds familiar to me too. The two people looked at each other. So, the two of them were stuck at the highway entrance for the whole morning. However, at noon, they successfully got on the highway. The worst suffered was the man named Jia who was following behind them. Just after Liu Ya and Jiang Tianming's car passed the highway entrance, the machine at the entrance toll station had problems again. A man named Jia waited at the entrance for several hours before he got on the highway. When it was getting late, Liu Ya and Jiang Tianming had already driven off the highway and arrived at the neighboring city. There is a very famous mountain in the neighboring city, called Tianyi Mountain, which happens to be not far from the highway exit. Jiang Tianming drove the car to the mountain road of Tianyi Mountain and stopped. Liu Ya simply used the kitchen and ingredients in the car to make a dinner. Liu Ya's cooking skills are not as good as Shen Feng's, but compared with ordinary people, her cooking skills are pretty good. After all, she used to be someone who had to support herself. While eating, Liu Ya glanced out the window. I found that the moon outside was round and bright tonight. Only then did she remember that there was a report on the internet that there would be a supermoon today, which is rare in decades. After dinner, she pulled Jiang Tianming out of the car, stood outside the car, and looked up at the moon. The sky is very nice tonight, with few clouds. Moreover, this is not an urban area, so without the reflection of urban lights, the moon and the stars in the sky are clearly visible. A full moon hung in the night sky, and it was indeed bigger than usual. Liu Ya looked at it and suddenly whispered to Jiang Tianming beside her. My family has never celebrated my birthday after a long time. I don't know when my birthday is, but I remember hearing them say that the moon was very round on the day he was born. The reason I was called Crescent Moon was because they gave me the name the next night. Jiang Tianming listened and gently hugged Liu Ya. The moon must have been brighter and rounder on the day you were born than it is today. Liu Ya laughed and said, Silly carrot, didn't you see what the experts on the internet said? Today is a supermoon, which only happens once in decades. Jiang Tianming kissed Liu Ya on the side of her face. I don't know how often a supermoon appears, but I know that I will only see one supermoon in my lifetime. The moon next to me is much more beautiful than the moon in the sky. It's so corny. Do you think I'm Wan's sister? Do you like to hear my brother say these corny words? I'm not saying anything corny, I'm just telling the truth. Liu Ya snorted, then looked at the moon in the sky and said with emotion. Now when I look up, I can see the bright moon, and under my feet is the horizon. It's a bit romantic to say it. No. Jiang Tianming shook his head. It should be said that when I turn my head, there is the bright moon, and under my feet is the end of the world. Liu Ya's face turned slightly red. She turned her head and suddenly muttered something in a low voice. Jiang Tianming didn't hear clearly, and asked curiously, What did you say? Nothing. It's so cold outside. I'll get back to the car first. She seemed quite embarrassed and didn't want to repeat what she had just whispered, so she hurried back to the car. Looking at her back, Jiang Tianming smiled. In fact, he just heard what Liu Ya muttered. She said, turning around, there is the bright moon. As long as you are here, the world is here. Chapter 413 Ugly City Yu also wants to meet his parents-in-law Part 1. The incident happened a few days after Xiaozu and City Yu participated in youth group. That day, Xiao Zilong called Xiaozu and said he wanted to meet City Yu. In fact, Xiao Zilong had wanted to meet the man who kidnapped his precious daughter since several days ago. He also told his daughter that his requirements for his son-in-law were not high at all. As long as you have a good brain and are mature and sensible, that's enough. He doesn't even require the other party to have money, a house or a car, because he has all of these. But her daughter Xiaozu just didn't want her to see the other party. This made Xiao Zilong feel uncomfortable and puzzled. After failing to see his future son-in-law for several times in a row, Xiao Zilong finally hardened his hearted to take a tough approach. Hey, my dear daughter, are you with your boyfriend now? Xiao Zilong asked on the phone. How could Xiaozu not know what her father was thinking? So she hung up the phone directly. But what she didn't expect was that at this time, there was a group of people guarding Xiao Zilong and operating the computer. After Xiao Zilong hung up the phone, someone next to him said, Brother, we have located the eldest lady. She is eating in a restaurant. Do you have the phone number of the restaurant owner? Ask Suor if she is eating alone or with others. Yes. The subordinate nodded, immediately found the contact information of the restaurant owner, made a call, and then handed the phone to Xiao Zilong. Zhansha and Security Company is a well-known security company in Sichuan, and even ranks among the top in the country. When the restaurant owner heard that it was Xiao Zilong who was questioning him, he immediately told him everything that happened in the restaurant honestly. Mr. Xiao, your daughter is having dinner in our restaurant. And there is a boy with her. Gotta try to hold them back and don't let them leave. I'll be there soon. Xiao Zilong hung up the phone, then pulled off his suit from the back of the chair and put it on. He waved his hand and said to his men, "Let's go." On the other side, in the restaurant, Xiaozu was having dinner with Sidiyu. Sidiyu peeled a shrimp with great effort and handed it to Xiaozu. Seeing this, Xiaozu smiled and said, "You peel it so slowly that you can't even eat it yourself, so don't do it for me. Come, I'll teach you a faster way to peel shrimp." As she spoke, Xiaozu patiently explained to Sidiyu the techniques of peeling shrimps. And he handed a perfectly peeled shrimp to Sidiyu. Sidiyu looked at Xiaozu's speed, then looked at his own speed in peeling shrimps, and couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He whispered, "Sister Zhu, you are amazing. Alright, stop praising me and eat quickly." Sidiyu nodded naively, then picked up the shrimp and started to eat. When Xiaozu saw this, she quickly stopped Sidiyu and asked, "Wait, are you going to eat like this?" Sidiyu was startled and asked, "Isn't this eaten this way? Can't this shrimp be eaten with the mouth?" "How to eat it then?" Xiaozu said, "You have to dip this in water before eating. This steamed shrimp has no taste of its own and relies entirely on the dipping sauce to enhance the flavor." After hearing this, Sidiyu looked a little confused, but he still nodded obediently. And he stood up and stuffed the shrimp into his mouth. Xiaozu, I always thought eating with dip was a joke." Sidiyu blinked. "Sister Zhu, were you telling a joke just now? Just pretend I didn't say anything. Sit down. Xiaozu sighed, peeled the shrimp again, dipped it in the sauce, and then fed it into Sidiyu's mouth. After Sidiyu ate it, his eyes lit up. "This is delicious." Seeing Sidiyu eating so sweetly, Xiaozu smiled again. When the two of them had almost finished eating the shrimps, Xiaozu still hadn't seen the next dish come up. This made Xiaozu feel a little strange. It's not a peak dining hour now, so there aren't many people in the restaurant. Moreover, the serving speed of this restaurant was not slow before. Why is it that they don't serve a single dish for most of the day? She didn't remember having any particularly difficult dishes to make. Thinking about this, Xiaozu called Waiter Ray and asked him why her dishes had not been served yet. Waiter Ray was hesitant and finally said apologetically, "The meat in the kitchen is out of use. Our staff went to buy some and will be back soon. Please sit down for a moment. We'll make it up to you for dessert later." "We're so sorry." Xiaozu frowned, but didn't say much. She waved her hand and let Waiter Ray go first. But when she turned around, she saw another waiter be serving a meat dish to the next table. And Xiaozu had ordered this dish before. And Xiaozu arrived earlier than that table. Xiaozu narrowed her eyes immediately, then called another waiter, B, who had just served food to the next table, and said, "I heard that you guys in the kitchen have run out of meat?" Waiter B was very straightforward. He looked at Xiaozu in confusion and said, "How is that possible? If they finish the dishes I just served, what will they do?" He hasn't finished speaking yet. A waiter A who had come before ran back quickly. And he reached out and covered Waiter B's mouth, and said to Xiaozu apologetically, "I'm sorry, don't listen to him. He is a new employee and doesn't know the situation in the kitchen." While walking around Laturu, Waiter B was whining about something in a wrong tone. Xiaozu said to Waiter A, "Let him go and let him talk." Waiter A said, "I'm sorry miss, I can't." Xiaozu slammed the table and said, "Let him go." "Yes." Waiter A immediately got scared and let go of Waiter B. Xiaozu then looked at Waiter B and asked, "What did you want to say just now?" "I want to say that the kitchen is actually." This time, before Waiter B could finish his words, he saw the boss walking over. The boss also kept winking at him, hinting at something. Waiter B understood what the boss meant this time and quickly changed his words. "I wanted to say that the kitchen was indeed out of meat. I remembered it wrongly. No more meat." "Where did that plate from the next table come from?" "The last one. It came later than us and ordered later than us." "So why was the last portion theirs? Explain." Xiaozu leaned back in her chair, like a big sister, questioning the waiter opposite her. When the two waiters saw that Xiaozu was not easy to mess with, they looked at Sidiyu, who had been sitting there without saying anything, and suddenly felt that Sidiyu might be a breakthrough. So Waiter A turned to Sidiyu and said, "Excuse me, sir, please forgive our restaurant's difficulties. We will have dessert as compensation later." Sidiyu scratched his head. And he blinked in confusion and said, "Why do I feel like you two are lying?" Sidiyu's words made the two waiters even more nervous. Even the boss not far away had sweat on his forehead. When Xiaozu saw this scene, she felt something was wrong. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, she stood up, pulled Sidiyu and said, "Hanan, let's go." But her movements still seemed a little slow. When she and Sidiyu got up to leave, a large van had already stopped in front of the main entrance of the restaurant. Immediately afterwards, several burly men in black got out of the car and broke into the restaurant. The other diners were so scared that they thought someone was coming to robbery. The person closest to the door hurriedly took out his wallet and handed it to Xiao Zilong, who was as strong as a bear in front of him. Xiao Zilong ignored the person who gave him the wallet and walked quickly to Xiaozu and Sidiyu. "Dad, it's you." Xiaozu's face darkened. Xiao Zilong was somewhat helpless and said, "Xiaozuer, don't blame me for resorting to this desperate measure. I really want a nature boyfriend." Having said that, Xiao Zilong looked at Sidiyu again. Seeing that Sidiyu looked pretty good, Xiao Zilong nodded. "The boy is quite handsome, but I don't know what he is like. We have a saying in our company, that true heart is revealed at the table. Come on, kid, I brought a few boxes of wine today, come and have a drink with me." Sidiyu looked very terrified and whispered, "Uncle, I don't know how to drink." "What did you say? Can you speak louder and be tougher? I don't want my daughter to find a coward." Upon hearing this, Sidiyu immediately shouted, "I can't drink. If you want to be with my daughter, you must drink today's wine." "Let me ask you again, can you drink?" "Won't." Sidiyu said it with confidence. Xiao Zilong was stunned. But then Sidiyu said again, but for Sister Zhu, I am willing to drink with you. This is still like a man. Let's go and get a private room." Xiao Zilong said this and pulled Sidiyu into the private room. Xiao Zhu was so angry and anxious that she tried to stop Xiao Zilong several times. Xiao Zilong waved his hand and said, "My dear daughter, don't worry, I know your boyfriend doesn't drink, Dad will give in to him later. Don't worry." As he spoke, Xiao Zilong had already dragged Sidiyu into the private room. However, Xiao Zhu had a bad feeling in her heart. Xiao Zhu hurriedly followed into the private room. So she saw Xiao Zilong drink half a glass of white wine in one gulp. Immediately afterwards, Sidiyu was seen drinking a glass of white wine in one gulp as if nothing had happened. Xiao Zhu looked at Sidiyu several times and confirmed that this fool had finished a large glass of white wine and there was nothing wrong with him. She looked at Xiao Zilong silently again. At this time, Xiao Zilong's hand holding the cup also shook. He looked at Sidiyu, who drank a large glass of wine without changing his expression. "I had a bad feeling in my heart." Chapter 414. Ugly Sidiyu also wants to meet his parents-in-law Part 2. Xiao Zhu watched Sidiyu and Xiao Zilong drinking for an hour. I heard Xiao Zilong change from calling Sidiyu boy to friend. Gradually, he started calling Sidiyu brother, and finally even called Sidiyu big brother. An hour later, Xiao Zilong was already lying on the table. He kept muttering, "Brother, you are the one who drinks the most that I have ever seen. I can't let big brother drink to his heart's content. I have other brothers, let them accompany big brother." After saying, the men brought by Xiao Zilong also walked in. Another hour later, Xiao Zhu looked at the men who were drinking heavily, and the corners of her mouth kept twitching. She silently called her father's company, and asked them to send 2 more people over as soon as possible. Otherwise, how could Xiao Zhu take everyone at the table away by herself? Sidiyu got everyone at the table drunk, so it was obvious that he was not completely unharmed. At this time, Sidiyu was also lying on the table. However, he did not pass out from drinking. Instead, he lay on the table with his eyes open, blinking from time to time. With his red face and slightly silly expression, he seemed even more silly than usual. Xiao Zhu walked up to him, and seeing him like this, she couldn't help but reach out and poke Sidiyu's little red face. Unexpectedly, this poke seemed to activate Sidiyu. He sat up straight suddenly and looked at Xiao Zhu. His mouth opened as if he wanted to say something, but it seems a bit difficult. It was several seconds before Xiao Zhu heard what Sidiyu wanted to say. Hiccup. He burp. Xiao Zhu. When Xiao Zhu wanted to pour a glass of water for Sidiyu, Sidiyu grabbed Xiao Zhu's hand. His hands, which were hot after drinking, held Xiao Zhu tightly, making Xiao Zhu feel her hands were also hot. Silly Hanan rarely takes the initiative like this. Just when Xiao Zhu thought that Sidiyu would take advantage of the alcohol to launch some offensive, Sidiyu looked at Xiao Zhu seriously and said, "Belch. Xiao Zhu. She should go and pour some water for this silly guy first." Sidiyu still held Xiao Zhu's hand tightly. Xiao Zhu had no choice but to pick up the kettle on the dining table with one hand, pour a glass of water for Sidiyu, and then handed it to Sidiyu. Sidiyu looked at Xiao Zhu. Then he looked at the cup of water in Xiao Zhu's hand. Then he silently picked up the wine glass from the table and clinked it with Xiao Zhu's water glass. Dry. Huck you big head. Xiao Zhu could see that although Sidiyu, the silly guy, was not drunk, he was already confused. She poured the glass of boiled water to Sidiyu. After drinking the water, Sidiyu seemed to feel better and lay back on the table. But his hand was still holding Xiao Zhu's hand. Xiao Zhu had no choice but to let this fool hold her. She sat next to Sidiyu, waiting from the company to come and pick her up. In the middle of the trip, she also received a call from Zhang Wanwan and Shen Feng, and took pictures of the situation here for them. After more than 10 minutes, people from the company finally drove over. When they saw Xiao Zilong and other colleagues lying in the room, they thought they had met some enemies, and they all drew out the batons they carried with them. A dagger that he carries with him. Carry a baseball bat. Carry your golf clubs with you. Quick stick carry with you. Carry an AK with you. Carry your cell phone with you, be ready to call someone. They are just drunk, just find a way to take them away. Xiaozu said. Yes, miss, by the way, miss, the one next to you. Please find a car and take him and me to where I live. Yes. The people in the company wanted to step forward and carry Sidiyu to the car, but the silly Sidiyu refused to let Xiaozu go no matter what. There was no other way. Xiaozu could only pull Sidiyu up by herself. And then asked, can you walk normally now? Sidiyu blushed and nodded slightly. Then take a step forward. His whole body went limp and he fell down. Xiaozu hurriedly hugged Sidiyu, and Sidiyu, like an octopus, immediately sucked onto Xiaozu and hugged her tightly. People from the nearby companies were so scared that they didn't dare to look. It was the first time they saw a man so close to their eldest daughter. Xiaozu could only hold Sidiyu and move into the car step by step. After returning to Xiaozu's residence by car, Xiaozu originally wanted to throw Hanan on the bed and let him have a good sleep. Unexpectedly, this idiot kept hugging her and refused to lie down on the bed no matter what. Just as Xiaozu was frowning and struggling, Sidiyu suddenly spoke. Sister Zhu, what's wrong? Xiaozu just opened her mouth to ask. But these 3 words had just come out of his mouth. She felt her lips were sealed. Sidiyu, who usually didn't even dare to hold hands, actually kissed her like this. The strong smell of alcohol and the faint scent of grass and trees that Sidiyu always carried on his body combined strangely and flowed into Xiaozu's mouth and nose along with the kiss. Xiaozu doesn't like drinking very much, and she thinks she hates the smell of alcohol. But for some reason, she was surprisingly able to accept Hanan's current taste. On the contrary, although Hanan was clumsy, his kissing skills were extremely aggressive, which made Xiaozu a little overwhelmed. It's not like she and Sidiyu have never kissed before. But in the past, she always took the initiative. It was the first time that she was put at a disadvantage by Sidiyu. And soon, she was not just at a disadvantage, even pressed down. Because Sidiyu was probably concentrating on the kiss just now, he lost his balance due to being drunk and fell onto the bed. Xiaozu, who had been held tightly in his arms, was naturally pulled down and fell onto the bed together with him. With this fall, Sidiyu's lips separated from Xiaozu's. His face was reddened, his eyes were blinking. He didn't look like a drunkard, or rather like a child who had been crying because of being wronged. Sister Zhu. He murmured Xiaozu's name. Xiaozu responded softly. She reached out and pinched Sidiyu's little face, which was very hot, but she could feel that her own face was perhaps even hotter now. Sister Zhu, I like you very much. As Sidiyu spoke, he rubbed his face against Xiaozu's body, like a little puppy trying to please others. I know I'm not a smart person, nor a very good person, but I have many advantages. I have never known whether I deserve to like you, because you are really very good, very outstanding, and very kind. Sidiyu's words made Xiaozu's eyes soften. She rubbed Sidiyu's face and said softly, Silly, what are you talking about? You deserve to like me more than anyone else, because in my heart, you are better than anyone else. Do you know that? Really? Real? So, can we stay together forever? Yes, we can be together forever. So, will we have children in the future? There will be. After hearing this, Sidiyu just laughed foolishly. Laughing and laughing. He suddenly sat up from the bed. Then he rummaged around in his pocket, took out his cell phone, and seemed to be checking something. Xiaozu was surprised. What's wrong with this silly guy? Why does he suddenly seem to be in high spirits? She also got up, sat next to Sidiyu and looked at Sidiyu's cell phone. And I saw a line of words displayed on Sidiyu's phone. How to have a baby. Here are some weird answers. Xiaozu looked at Sidiyu. Sidiyu also looked at Xiaozu. The two people looked at each other. Looking at each other. Looking at each other. And the last person lying on the bed was the drunk Sidiyu. Xiaozu became a person with back pain. Chapter 415, Let's start taking care of the baby today. Part 1. The incident happened when Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing were 7 years old. Shen Fang and Zhang Wanwan took their 2 children to participate in a variety show. It's called Start Taking Care of Your Baby Today. This can be seen from the naming style. This is director Chen's show. When Zhang Wanwan just became pregnant with her 2 children, someone at Mingle Eye Entertainment had actually already made an appointment with Shen Fang and Zhang Wanwan, wanting to wait for them to have the children so that they could shoot a parent-child variety show. Director Chen also joined Mingle Eye Entertainment a few years ago. So this project was finally handed over to Director Chen by Mr. Lei of Mingle Eye Entertainment. In addition to Shen Fang and Zhang Wanwan, Director Chen also invited several celebrity couples. For example, Jiat Nan and Li Dingting. Their wedding was held earlier than Shen Feng's, and their child was born less than a year later than the Quan Suo couple. Now their baby is 6 years old. Jiat Nan's child is called Jia Meng Meng, a lovely little girl. It can be said that she has perfectly inherited Li Tingting's good looks. Moreover, it seems that he did not inherit Jiat Nan's luck. At least he is still thriving until now. In addition to them, the director team also invited 2 other groups of guests. One group is also a famous celebrity couple in the circle, but they don't have much in common with Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan. The other group is made up of acquaintances of Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, Liu Mingyu and Hua. The 2 of them are artists of Mingle Eye Entertainment, so it is naturally not difficult for Mingle Eye Entertainment to invite them. However, even after 7 years, the 2 still did not get married. Naturally, there are no children. They were there to help take care of a relative's child. This show is undoubtedly an all-star cast. There is no need to say much about Liu Mingyu and Wen Hua. Even in middle age, they are still the old pillars of the domestic entertainment industry. A development of Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan in the past few years has been even more terrifying. Not only did the 2 of them film many movies and TV shows, they also collaborated with the genius director Xiao Mu and his wife Ning Wang, winning both the Oscar for Best Actor and Best Actress. Now even abroad, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan have a large number of fans. Recently many foreigners have even been influenced by Shen Feng and have started to use the pretentious Chinese phrase, slightly understand all the time. Although Jia Tan and Li Tingting are not as popular as Shen Feng Zhang Wanwan, the couple has also become top stars in the domestic entertainment industry. 5 days before the show Let's Start Raising Kids Today was broadcast, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan brought their 2 babies to the show's filming location Sichuan City in advance. This is not the first time that Shen Cheng and Zhang Wanwan have come here. After getting off the plane with their 2 children, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan met director Chen, who came to pick them up. The 2 little ones, Shen Weiyu and Shen Chen Yuqing, had met director Chen before. When they saw director Chen, they started calling him Uncle Chen and Uncle Chen. Director Chen was so happy that he touched the 2 little guys' heads and said with a smile, "You 2 little cuties are much more sensible than your parents." When Zhang Wanwan heard this, she smiled mischievously and said, Uncle Chen, Uncle Chen." Director Chen couldn't help but shudder, and quickly waved his hands and said, forget it. Just be normal, I'm scared." Zhang Wanwan and Shen Feng got into the car with the children. Zhang Wanwan sat in the back seat with the 2 children, while Shen Feng sat in the front. Director Chen took another look at Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, who had taken off their masks before driving away. Finally, he couldn't help but sighed. "It's been several years. Every time I see you, I have to sigh. You 2 really don't look old." "We are not old at all, we are not even 30 yet." Zhang Wanwan rolled her eyes. Shen Feng, who was sitting in the front row, laughed and said, "My youngest brother is only 18 years and 140 months old this year." A few people were chatting and laughing, and Director Chen had already started the car. Director Chen did not drive into the city, but drove onto the highway, because this program is to be filmed in a small county town in Sichuan City. After all, the stars invited to the program are all big names, and they also bring their children with them. It would be bad if something unexpected happened while filming in a crowded urban area. On the way to the county town, Shen Feng asked Director Chen, "You won't do another survival show this time, right?" "Hey, what you said, can I still do this kind of thing all the time?" Director Chen looked as if Shen Feng had misunderstood him. But Shen Feng said, "If I remember correctly, you just filmed Dating Season 6 last year, and it was still the same old survival romance routine." "Well, that's because the audience likes to watch it. Otherwise, with my talent, it would be easy for me to plan some new programs." Director Chen coughed lightly. What he said is actually not wrong. Although the later seasons of Date no longer have interesting guests like Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, the quality of the program itself is still acceptable. Especially in recent years when variety shows have been in a period of transition, there are still quite a lot of old viewers who like to watch Date. Since this is a parent-child program, we won't make it too difficult. Basically, we'll just give you some simple parent-child tasks to complete, and then have some small competitions between the groups. Director Chen introduced Shen Feng. The main purpose is to film the living conditions of the 4 groups of guests in the small mountain village. Film your daily life. Don't feel any psychological pressure. Just treat it as a vacation. After saying this, Director Chen himself to his tongue. Damn it, I introduced other groups of guests this way before. And it's just so easy to say, why should you feel pressured? I should be the one feeling pressured. Director Chen knew that although Shen Weiyu and Shen Chen Yuqing look sensible and cute now, when really encountering problems, these 2 little guys would be no pushovers. If we say that when they were filming Date before, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were Director Chen's 2 little ancestors. Now, he has to face 4 little ancestors. Director Chen felt that he was under a lot of pressure. When they arrived at the small mountain village, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan saw Jia Tan and Li Tingting who had arrived early, and their child, Jia Mingmeng. As soon as Jia Nan saw Shen Feng, he became energetic and rushed over to hug Shen Feng, muttering, "Brother Shen, you went abroad to film for more than half a year and didn't come back. I missed you so much." As a result, he took 2 steps towards Shen Sheng and tripped over a brick, falling down. Fortunately, Shen Feng was right in front of him and caught him directly. Jia Nan nestled in Shen Feng's arms and said with gratitude, "Brother Shen, thank you. It turns out that you have me in your heart." Zhang Wanwan next to her gave her a strange look. Shen Feng just let go and took a step back. Jayatnam fell to the ground with a thud. Because there was a buffer just now, Jayatnan didn't feel any pain this time. However, he still looked at Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan with a resentful look. On the other side, Li Tingting was taking her daughter Jia Mingmeng to say hello to Shen Weiyu and Shen Yukeng. Jia Mingmeng had met Shen Weiyu and Shen Yukeng several times before. But she was shy and weak by nature, so she didn't dare to go and say hello to them. And when greeting Shen Weiyu, Jia Mingmeng's little face was also red. I don't know if it's because I'm shy, or because of shyness. Shen Weiyu also acted like an older brother. He took the initiative to greet Jia Mingmeng, held Jia Mingmeng's hand and said, "Don't be afraid. Let's be friends." This made Jia Mingmeng even more embarrassed. And she didn't even dare to raise her head. She whispered, "Brother Shiwo, can I call you brother?" "Of course you can. You will be my sister from now on." Looking at the two people holding hands, Shen Yukeng beside them frowned. For some reason, she felt that Jia Mingmeng seemed to have a strange attitude towards her brother. It was as if he was trying to snatch her brother away. Shen Yukeng thought about it and wondered if this was what her mother had talked about. The woman's sixth sense? But no matter what, Shen Yukeng didn't want her brother to be taken away. So in her mind, she planned a plan to protect her brother. She can't let Jia Mingmeng and her brother get too close. Chapter 415 Extra, Start Taking Care of Your Baby Today Part 2. A few days later, when all the guests arrived, the recording of Let's Start Taking Care of the Baby Today officially began. Because the live broadcast format of Let's Start Dating Today was very popular. Taking Care of Babies also adopts the format of live broadcast and recording. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, before the show even started, a live broadcast room of Taking Care of Babies was already packed with viewers. Back then, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were the traffic veins, and they are naturally even better now. Not to mention that Liu Mingyu, Wen Hua, Jia Nan and Li Tingting are also in Taking Care of Children. Even if the audience does not like watching variety shows, they have to come to the live broadcast room just for these stars. I have watched the first season of Date dozens of times, and finally I am waiting for the new one. When I watched Feng Zi and Wan Wan, they hadn't officially announced their relationship yet. Now, a few years later, they even have a child. When I watched Feng Zi and Wan Wan, I was still single now. After several years, why am I still single? Damn it. I'm different now ever since I saw Feng Zi and Wan Wan. I have found my husband and wife, Feng Zi Wan Wan. Monogamy has really been played out by you. Get out of the way. I'm going to pee yellow so I can wake him up. The love broadcast hasn't started yet. And the audience has nothing to do, so they chat in the live broadcast room. Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan and others are preparing for the launch of the show. A program crew has now arrived in a small mountain village. In the next few days, they will live a simple life in this small mountain village. Take care of the children, do farm work, grow vegetables, go fishing, and appreciate the natural scenery. This mountain village is really built on the mountain. So the environment is quite complicated. Zhang Wanwan and Shen Shen are instructing their two children where they can go and where they cannot go to prevent any accidents from happening to them. Li Ting heard this and said to Jiat Nan, "Give Meng Meng some instructions as well." Jiat Nam nodded. Then he said to his daughter, "Meng Meng, oh, listen to your uncle Shen Feng's speech." He felt that his instructions were definitely not as comprehensive as Shen Feng's, so it would be better for his daughter to listen to Shen Feng directly. Jia Meng Meng walked obediently behind Shen Weiyu and Shen Yukeng. After hesitating for a moment, she wanted to stand next to Shen Weiyu. Seeing this, Shen Yukeng hurriedly stood up, moved a small stool next to herself, and said to Jia Meng Meng, "Sister Meng Meng, come and sit with me." Seeing that Shen Yukeng even moved a stool for her, Jia Meng Meng sat down next to Shen Yukeng and said thank you to Sister Xiaoqing in a low voice. But she would glance at Shen Weiyu from time to time. This little action made Shen Yukeng frown cutely. The actions and expressions of these three little guys naturally fell into the eyes of Jiat Nan, Shen Feng and others. Zhang Wanwan sighed softly. Meng Meng, Shuo and Xiaoqing are having such a good time together. They will definitely be good friends in the future. Li Tingting also sighed quietly. Xiaoqing is so nice to Meng Meng. They will definitely be good sisters in the future. At this time, Jiet Nan muttered, why do I feel that Meng Meng is interested in Shuo? Is Xiao King jealous? As soon as these words were spoken, Zhang Wanwan and Li Dingting rolled their eyes. The child is only 6 or 7 years old. Then you please stop thinking about him so complicated, Lai? That's right, don't use your eyes, which have been tainted by the corruption and filth of the adult world, to examine the true friendship between children. Being criticized by both his wife and sister-in-law, Jiet Nan felt very wronged. He looked at Shenfeng with a bitter face and said, Brother Shen, I believe in your judgment. You must think that what I said is right. To be honest, Shenfeng really felt that there was nothing wrong with what Jiet Nan said this time. Since Jia Meng came a few days ago, she has been sticking close to Shen Weiyu, following behind Shen Weiyu and calling him brother. On the contrary, Shen Yuking, ever since Shen Weiyu had a younger sister, Jia Meng, Shen Yuking basically would sulk by herself every day. No one knows a daughter better than her father. Shenfeng could naturally see that Xiaoqing was jealous. But even if what Jiet Nan said made sense, Shenfeng would definitely not speak for him. If he can only choose one between his husband and his wife, he will definitely choose the latter. So Shenfeng righteously repeated Zhang Wanwan's words and said, don't use your eyes, which have been tainted by the corruption and filth of the adult world, to examine the true friendship between children. Jiet Nan glared at Shenfeng in anger and grief, then shrank into a corner and drew circles to curse Shenfeng. After Shensheng briefly explained the precautions to the children, it was already 9 o'clock. The 4 groups of guests from the program team gathered in the courtyard with their children, and Director Chen also pressed the start button. Hello, dear audience friends, welcome to watch the new celebrity rural parent-child variety show brought to you by Minglai Entertainment. Start taking care of your baby today. Wow, why is there no tag for survival? I don't accept it. I don't accept it either, since you already have Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan. Shouldn't you be seeking survival, Director Chen? You don't understand. Director Chen is no longer the same old Chen from Wu. You mean, Director Chen has become stronger? No, what I mean is that Director Chen has given up struggling. Grass. In recent years, Director Chen has become a familiar face to many audiences who love watching variety shows. And many people have made jokes about Director Chen in the barrage. Director Chen was introducing the guests participating in the show to the audience, starting with the most experienced Liu Mingyu and Wen Hua, then Shenfeng Zhang Wanwan, then Jia Ten and Li Tingting, and finally another group of guests. When each group of guests was introduced, the barrage of comments was noisy. For example, when Liu Mingyu and Wen Hua were introduced, the comments turned into an army of people urging them to get married. But comments like, did Liu and Wen get married today? Please, both of you announce it as soon as possible. When Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan were introduced, the barrage of comments turned into a sea of horny comments. The Love broadcast room was filled with such outrageous comments as long time no see. Husband, wife, don't you love me anymore? And husband? Wife, can you beat me up? After Director Chen introduced the guests, he announced the rules of the new variety show Taking Care of Babies. The rules are actually quite simple. Director Chen will assign tasks to the 4 groups of guests every day, such as asking the guests to take the children fishing, harvest vegetables, chop wood, etc. After completing a task, you can find Director Chen to take on the next one. You can earn points by completing tasks, and the points can be used to exchange for daily necessities from Director Chen. Of course, the task is just a small adjustment. What the program team really wants to film is not the 4 groups of guests working hard to complete the task, but their daily life in the mountain village. After announcing the rules, Director Chen assigned tasks to the 4 groups of guests. A mission of Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan's family is to go to the mountains to dig bamboo shoots. This task is actually quite normal. But when Shen Sheng went to Director Chen to ask for tools for digging bamboo shoots, Director Chen, however, laughed sinister lie. Then he said, I only said I would give you tasks, but I didn't say would give you tools. Director Chen is courting death, still the same old formula. Still the familiar taste. In the evening, Shenfeng and Wanwan live in one room. Xiao Jia and Ting Ting live in one room, and Director Chen and Bamboo Shoots have a pot of stew. Only Director Chen dares to do this to Feng Zi and Wanwan. These 2 are so famous now that no one dares to mess with them when they participate in other variety shows. Zhang Wanwan glared. You want us to dig bamboo shoots with our bare hands without giving us tools? Wanwan, you guys are pretty good. Liu Mingyu at the side. Our group's task is to go fishing, but we don't even have a fishing rod. As soon as he finished speaking, Jayatnam next to him spoke again. You 2 are doing pretty well, we are even worse off. Our mission is to feed the pigs. Wen Hu was stunned after hearing this. What's wrong with feeding the pigs? If the production team didn't give us feed, we can probably get some grass and vegetables to feed them. It would be fine if they didn't give us feed, but the problem is that the production team didn't even give us pigs. Jiat Nan pointed at Director Chen angrily and said, "If you want us to feed pigs, you should at least prepare a pig. Otherwise, who should I feed?" Zhang Wanwan. Zhang Wanwan clenched her fists. "The production team didn't prepare a pig, but I can beat you into a pig's head." Li Ting hurried forward and grabbed Zhang Wanwan and said, "Sister Wanwan, calm down, you know this guy doesn't think before he speaks." Jiat Nan also quickly changed his words and said, "I was just about to say Li Ting, but I said it wrong." Li Ting let go of Zhang Wanwan's hand again and said, "This guy doesn't think before he speaks, hit him harder." Jiat Nan hurriedly looked at Shen Feng for help. Shen Feng patted Zhang Wanwan on the shoulder and said gently, "Brother Wan, calm down." Jiat Nan looked grateful. But then Shen Sheng took out a broom from somewhere and handed it to Zhang Wanwan. "Use this to hit me, otherwise your hands will hurt." Jiat Nan. Chapter 416 Extra, Start Taking Care of Your Baby Today, Part 3. Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan took their children to the mountains to dig bamboo shoots. Li Mingyuan and Wen Hua took the children to the river to catch fish. Another group of guests took their children to pick wild vegetables and fruits. After being beaten, Jiat Nan took Li Ting and the child to find the pig. Jiat Nan thought that he would just find a villager's house and negotiate with the villagers to see if he could borrow the villager's pig. After all, his job is to feed the pigs, not to eat them. So it shouldn't be a big problem. Moreover, Jiat Nan knew that the program team must have communicated with the villagers before and should be able to help them. It turns out, Jiat Nan was half right. The program team has indeed communicated with the villagers. But the program team did not let the villagers help them, but let the villagers not help them. So after visiting 3 or 4 villagers in a row, no one was willing to give their pigs to Jiat Nan to feed. After being rejected several times in succession, Jiat Nan squatted helplessly next to a villager's pig pen. He looked at the pig inside. The pigs inside were also looking at him. The 2 pigs looked at each other for a long time. Finally, a pig in the pigsty sneezed and spit all over Jiat Nan's face. Jiat Nan ran to wash his face in frustration, and when he came back he glared at the pig fiercely. On the other side, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were digging bamboo shoots in the mountains. Just now, Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan and her 2 children went to other villagers' homes, hoping to borrow some tools such as shovels for digging bamboo shoots. The result was the same treatment as Jiat Nan, which was a complete rejection. There was even a very enthusiastic fan who pulled a few people to ask for autographs and photos. Only after getting everything they wanted, the fan reluctantly asked Shen Sheng and others to leave the house. Director Chen looked at Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan and others climbing the mountain with bare hands in the camera, with a look of pride on his face. "Little guy, once you fall into my hands, no matter how big a star you are, you have to obey me and dig bamboo shoots with your bare hands." He watched Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan walk up the mountain with the 2 children. Watched the 4 people find the bamboo forest and the bamboo shoots. I watched them squat down, roll up their sleeves and prepare to take action. Then, watching Shen Feng take out 2 small shovels from behind him and hand them to Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuking. Director Chen's expression suddenly became strange. "Shit, where did he get the shovel?" The angle of the camera just now didn't allow us to see what was behind Shen Feng. So Director Chen quickly picked up the intercom and asked the cameraman to shoot what was behind Shen Feng. The photographer also ran over happily. Then he squatted down with the camera in his hand. And the camera worth tens of thousands of dollars was directly locked on Shen Feng's buttocks. Shen Feng, where do you think I took it out from?" "The 4th-dimensional chrysanthemum." The photographer looked at Shen Feng. "Isn't it?" Shen Sheng lifted up his coat, revealing another small shovel that was covered by the coat and inserted in the gap of his belt. "When did you get the shovel? How come I didn't know about it?" Director Chen was dumbfounded at this moment. It was obvious that Shen Feng and his family did not borrow a shovel from the villagers just now. Where did the shovel come from? "The last villager is my fan. And he is quite enthusiastic." Shen Sheng pulled out the remaining shovel behind him and said slowly, "So I thought, if I borrowed his small shovel, he shouldn't have any big objections." "You Ray not stealing." Shen Sheng raised his eyebrows. "You didn't say that stealing is not allowed?" "I didn't say you could steal it." Shen Feng nodded. "Now that I've made it clear, does this count as robbery? Not stealing? Don't you think that doing this is against your moral bottom line?" "I don't think so. I've done a lot more shameless things than this." Director Chen, Zhang Wanwan, your husband is like this. Can't you condemn him?" The camera turned to Zhang Wanwan standing aside. Zhang Wanwan, who was just taking out a small shovel from the bag she was carrying, was startled. Then he said righteously, "Condemn, severely condemn. If I had known he took so much, I wouldn't have taken it." Director Chen covered his face. Director Chen actually asked my younger brother to condemn Feng Zi. Doesn't he know that these two are a pair of robbers? Fuck, when I went to the fan's house just now, wasn't the camera always on them? When did they steal things? To be honest, I found out when Zhang Wanwan hid the small shovel, but I really didn't see when Feng Zi stole it. Director Chen really didn't think enough to let a female hooligan who skipped school as a child and climbed up the roof to put a ring lock on the teacher's car condemn another hooligan. I suggest that the fan just now should check around at home. I think these two people didn't just take these few things. Check your food and drinks, clothes, shoes, socks, pots and pans, hoes and axes, tables and chairs, and your wife and children to see if anything is missing. Damn, do you really think Feng Zi has a four-dimensional chrysanthemum? If Yu Qian's father can do it, why can't my Feng Zi do it? Feng Zi, show them how to hide a durian. While everyone was laughing in the barrage, Shen Feng had already taken Zhang Wanwan and the children to dig bamboo shoots. It is generally easier to use a hoe to dig bamboo shoots. This small shovel is still less efficient. However, Shen Feng and his friends were not pursuing efficiency. The family was just enjoying the fragrance of flowers and the chirping of birds in the mountains. Just for fun, so they didn't complain about the slow digging process. As the four men were digging bamboo shoots, 3 more men came over from the other side of the mountain road. Shen Feng turned around and found that it was Jayat Nan's family of 3. Have you fed the pigs? Shen Feng asked casually. Jayat Nan shook his head pitifully, and then said, Director Chen just agreed to give us a pig. But he also gave us an extra task, saying that we can only get the pig after completing it. What mission? Put back the shovels and bamboo shoots in your hands. When Zhang Wanwan heard this, she looked at Jayat Nan gently and said, Do you think you can take it back? Of course, I can't. Jayat Nan spread his hands and said, But we have nothing else to do now, so we can only come to you. After hearing this, Zhang Wanwan walked over to Jayat Nan with a smile. He was also very kind and handed the basket of bamboo shoots and the shovel to Jayat Nam. The Jayat Nams were dumbfounded. I even looked up at the sky and thought the sun was rising from the west. Zhang Wanwan would actually be so kind one day. Shocked. Then Zhang Wanwan said, You have nothing to do anyway. Go help me dig. I want to chat with Ting Ting. Jayat Nan. He knew it, this woman has no good intentions. Carrying a small basket, Jayat Nan squatted next to Shen Feng and started digging bamboo shoots. Jia Meng Meng also came over curiously and watched from the side. But as she looked, she saw Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing going there. These two little guys usually do some work and have never played outdoors. The day's bamboo shoot digging activity is quite new to them, and they both enjoyed it very much. Seeing Jia Meng Meng coming, Shen Weiyu was also very enthusiastic. She handed the bamboo shoots she had dug to Jia Meng Meng for her to see. He also asked Jia Meng Meng why she came over. Jia Meng Meng held the bamboo shoot in her little hand and whispered, Uncle Chen asked my parents to take back your shovel and bamboo shoots before he would give us the pig. And we can't complete our mission? Shen Weiyu seemed to really want to help Jia Meng Meng. After thinking about it seriously, she gave her shovel to Jia Meng Meng. How about you take my shovel back and ask Uncle Chen if it counts? Okay? When the little girl Shen Yuqing saw that Shen Weiyu was so nice to Jia Meng Meng, she suddenly felt a little jealous. She said from the side, Uncle Chen asked Uncle Jian and the others to collect our tools just to make things difficult for our family. If you just give your shovel to Meng Meng, they will definitely not complete their mission. What you said makes sense. Shen Weiyu scratched his head, and suddenly his eyes lit up and said, If it takes 4 shovels to exchange for a pig, then can you exchange a shovel for a pig's head? With a pig's head? You can feed things, right? I think you look like a pig. Do you think this is feasible? Shen Yuqing rolled her eyes. Brother, you can't help her, you'd better dig bamboo shoots quickly. Oh, okay. As Shen Weiyu spoke, she apologized to Jia Meng Meng with some apology. Jia Meng Meng quickly shook her head and whispered, Thank you, Brother Shuo, for helping me find a solution. Seeing Jia Meng Meng calling him Brother Shuo again, Shen Yuqing felt a sense of crisis again. She felt that she had to get Jia Meng Meng away from Shen Weiyu. Otherwise, this little girl would probably snatch her brother away. So Shen Yuqing racked her little brain and finally came up with a solution. She came close to Jia Meng Meng and whispered something to her. When Jia Meng Meng heard this, a look of surprise appeared on her face. And he nodded quickly and said to Shen Yuqing gratefully, Thank you, Sister Shaoqing, this idea you came up with is really good. I will ask Mom and Dad to do it right away. Having said that, Jia Meng Meng quickly ran to find Jia Tan and Li Ting Ting. Shen Weiyu looked at Jia Meng Meng strangely as she left, then turned to look at Shen Yuqing and asked, Shaoqing, what did you say to Meng Meng? Shen Yuqing bared her teeth and wiped Shen Weiyu's face with her muddy hands. I won't tell you, Lululu. The expression on Shen Weiyu's face became even stranger. Why did he feel that Shaoqing seemed a little unhappy? Could it be that she thinks digging bamboo shoots is not fun? Chapter 417 Extra. Let's start taking care of the baby today. Part 4. The little girl Shen Yuqing gave Jia Mengmeng an idea. That is to let Jia Mengmeng's family find some food and then throw it directly into someone's pig pen. Because Director Chen's task was to let the family feed pigs. And he didn't specify which pig to feed as long as they fed the pigs. They would complete the task. Jia Nan thought it made sense. So he took his family back to the village and planned to find the lucky pig to feed. Unfortunately, the two little girls, Shen Yuqing and Jia Mengmeng, didn't know one thing. That is, they also carry microphones from the program crew. So the two girls' voices were heard by Director Chen and the audience. Director Chen is such a wicked person. How could Jayatnam be given such an opportunity to take advantage of the situation? He was still waiting to rely on Jayatnan to check and balance Shenfeng. So before Jayatnan and his family returned to the village, they asked the villagers to close the doors of their homes and keep a close eye on the pigs. When Jayatnan and his friends came back, they saw that the entire village was closed. If you didn't know, you would think the Japanese were about to enter the village. Jayatnan knocked on the doors of two villagers, and the villagers opened the doors. But Jayatnam was not allowed to enter no matter what. When Jayatnan saw that his plan was going to fail again, he became a little anxious. He felt that finding a way to feed the pigs secretly would definitely be much easier than finding a way to get the bamboo shoots and shovel back from Shenfeng. Jayatnan knew very well what level of combat power Shu had and what level of combat power Shenfeng had. Finally, Jayatnam made a decision. Since Director Chen is playing dirty tricks on him, there is no need for him to play dirty tricks on him with Director Chen. He sneakily found a pigpen with lower walls. Although the wall was low, it would have been difficult for Jayatnam to climb over it. He didn't want to climb in either. He took a piece of bread from his bag and threw it into the wall with force. Then he said to the camera behind him, "Director Chen, I have completed my mission now, right?" Director Chen, you just threw the bread in, who knows if the pigs ate it or not? And let's go in and take a look. Pigs are omnivores. And although they don't eat everything, Jayatnan estimates that pigs will still eat bread. When Jayatnan entered the villager's house and looked towards the pigpen, he did not see any trace of the piece of bread that Jayatnan had just thrown. Jayatnan chuckled and said, "Director Chen, are you convinced? This bread is not for pigs to eat, so is it for you to eat? TSK, you kid." Director Chen originally wanted to just admit defeat and let Jayatnan complete the task. But when Director Chen heard that Jayatnan dared to confront him, he didn't want to let him off so easily. He discussed it with the assistant director next to him. And finally he came up with an explanation. He coughed lightly, then said with a smile, "Xiao Jia, I have to admit that your bread is indeed fed to pigs." Jayatnan looked proud. But the next second, Director Chen said, "How about this, if you find the pig that ate your bread and bring it to me, I will consider you have completed the mission." The expression on Jayatnan's face suddenly froze again. "Didn't we agree to just feed it to the pigs? Why do we have to bring it back?" "Nonsense, do you think you are feeding the pig for nothing? You have to keep feeding the same pig for the next few days. When our show is over, we will use this pig to make a big meal." Director Chen said slowly, "Now I admit that you have successfully fed the pigs. All you need to do is bring out the pigs that have eaten the bread. Is that difficult?" After hearing this, Li turned off the microphone and whispered to Jayatnan, "Just pick what and take it away. Director Chen has no way of confirming whether you fed the pig or not." Jayatnam thought it made sense, so he pointed at a random pig. "That's it." "Really? Where's the evidence? How do you prove that it was this pig that ate your bread?" Director Chen said. "Then how do you prove that it wasn't eaten by it?" said Jayatnam. The two people were in a stalemate for a while. Just at this time, Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan, who had already dug a basket of bamboo shoots, aimed down the mountain with Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing and passed by this villager's house. Hearing Jayatnan arguing with Director Chen in front of the pigpen, Chen Sheng went up to ask what was going on. When Jayatnan told the story, Shenfeng said, "Why don't you feed another pig now?" "Yes." Jayatnam was enlightened. He took out another piece of bread and fed it to one of the pigs. Director Chen said depressed Lai, "Xiaochen, is it good for you to help Jayatnan?" "No." Shenfeng said, "But seeing you depressed is quite good for me." Director Chen. Jayatnan led the pig with great effort towards the courtyard where they lived. Shenfeng followed behind him to help watch, while Li Tingting and Zhang Wanwan chatted together. The three little ones, Shen Weiyu, Shen Yuqing and Jia Mengmeng, walked at the back. Jia Mengmeng whispered to Shen Weiyu, "Brother Shuo, your father is so amazing, much smarter than my father. But I think Uncle Jia is also amazing, he dances really well." And Shen Weiyu wanted to praise him a little more. But when the words came to my lips, I got stuck. Even Shuo can't think of Xiao Jia's second advantage. Xiao Jia, you are too pitiful. Children speak without restraint. Children speak without restraint. Another advantage of Xiao Jia is that he is very strong. He remains strong no matter what setbacks he goes through. Otherwise, if I were as unlucky as him, I might not even live to have children. You were clearly talking about an advantage, but why did it make me feel so sad? In the end, Shen Weiyu actually thought of a word to praise Jayatnam. And I think Uncle Jia is very perseverant. He thinks the word perseverance is a broad term and should be suitable for anyone. But Shen Weiyu had just finished praising. After walking for a while with the 100-pound fat pig, Jayatnan was so tired that he wiped the sweat off his forehead and sat down by the wall, panting and saying, "This pig won't even move, I'm so tired. Let's take a break." Shen Weiyu, who had just praised Jayatnan for his perseverance, said, "Jia Meng Meng." Shen Yuking, who was standing by, saw Jia Meng Meng and Shen Weiyu chatting together again. Thinking that she must not let the two get too close, she seized the opportunity to step forward. He handed the water bottle he brought to Jia Meng Meng, and then said, "Meng Meng, Uncle Jia must be very thirsty now. Go and give Uncle Jia some water." When the naive Jia Meng Meng heard this, a look of gratitude immediately appeared on her face. "Thank you, Sister Xiaoqing, you are so thoughtful." She took the bottle and, swinging her little feet, ran to give water to Jayatnam. Shen Chuking breathed a sigh of relief when she saw Jia Meng Meng leaving Shen Weiyu again. "This time I successfully saved my brother, it wasn't easy." At this time, Shen Weiyu also smiled and said to Shen Yuking, "Xiaoqing, I think you have been so kind and considerate to Meng Meng recently. You moved a stool for her, gave her advice, and reminded her to bring water to Uncle Jia. It seems that you like Meng Meng too." Shen Yuking rolled her eyes. "I like her, don't I? I'm just afraid that she will snatch your brother away." At the same time, Jia Meng Meng, who handed the water to Jia Tenan, was standing next to Jia Tenan, stealing glances at Shen Yuking and Shen Weiyu from time to time. Originally, Jia Meng Meng, an only child, felt that it was a great blessing to have a brother to take care of her. So she also wanted to have a brother who could take care of her, and wanted Shen Weiyu to be her brother. But now, Jia Meng Meng's views have changed a little. She found that compared to Shen Weiyu, Shen Yuking seemed more considerate, kinder, and more caring towards her. If I could have such a good sister, it would probably be better than having a brother. Thinking about it, Jia Meng Meng made up her mind. Not only does she have to have a good relationship with Shen Weiyu, she also has to be good sisters with Shen Yuking. Shen Chuking on the other side noticed Jia Meng Meng's gaze. "But I became more alert in my heart. I've already sent her away. But she still keeps looking over here. Does she really want to snatch my brother away? No, I can't let her take brother Shuo away. If we can't start with Jia Meng Meng, we have to find a way to get brother Shuo to stay away from Jia Meng Meng." Shen Chuking's little mind began to calculate again. Only Shen Weiyu. At this time, let's look at Shen Yuking, who was staring at Jia Meng Meng. And he looked at Jia Meng Meng, who was staring at Shen Yuking over there. "Finally," I said with relief in my heart, "it seems that the two sisters have a really good relationship." Chapter 418 Extra. Start taking care of your baby today. The Mother Pig. Why don't you leave? The journey that Jayatnan took the pig back to the yard was extremely bumpy. In fact, Jayatnan just realized that the pig he was pulling was the same pig that had spit at him before. And this pig has a very special personality. He won't respond to anything you say. Whether Jayatnam kicked it from behind or tempted it with food, the pig brother always ignored Jayatnam. He walks very slowly, and sometimes he just doesn't move at all. This made Jayatnam somewhat depressed. He watched Brother Pig stop again, and squatted down helplessly in front of the pig. Then Brother Pig spit in Jayatnam's face. "Jayatnan, I thought I was just teasing you. I gave you food. You can't be too much of a pig." Seeing that the pig wouldn't walk, Li Ting also helped Jayatnan search Baidu on the internet. Finally, Li Ting pulled Jayatnan aside and said, "I read online that pregnant sows don't like to walk, and their immunity is likely to be low, making them more likely to catch a cold. This pig looks pretty fat. Could it be pregnant with piglets?" Jayatnan looked at Shen Feng with an inquiring look. In his opinion, Brother Shen is more reliable than Baidu. Shen Feng nodded and said, "What they said online is correct. Increased fatness, steady movements, laziness and a lack of interest in movement are indeed signs of a pregnant sow." Jayatnan looked at Brother Pig with sympathy and guilt. They shouldn't treat such a great mother so harshly. But then Shen Sheng said, "But unfortunately, your pig brother is a boar." Jayatnan's eyes instantly lost sympathy again. "What a lazy pig. Brother Shen, it won't leave no matter what. How can I take it to Director Chen?" Jayatnam found this matter quite difficult to handle. Shen Sheng waved to Jayatnan, motioning him to come over. He then turned off the microphone and whispered a few words in Jayatnam's ear. When Jayatnam heard this, his eyes lit up. And he nodded and asked Li Ting and Jia Mingmeng to wait here. But he ran away. Director Chen, who was watching backstage, was very confused. Could it be that Jayatnan has come up with a good idea? It just so happened that Jia Mingmeng and Li Ting were with Shenfeng and his team. And there were photographers from Shenfeng's group helping with the filming. So Director Chen immediately ordered the photographer from Jia Tanan's group to follow Jia Tanan. The photographer immediately followed with the camera. And when Jayatnan saw that he was being followed, he suddenly sped up and ran as fast as he could. Catch up with him, don't let him get away from you. Director Chen also gave the order immediately. The photographer also sped up immediately. Carrying the heavy camera, he ran almost as fast as Jayatnam. Good stamina, but I want to see how you deal with this move. Jayatnan suddenly took a detour and came to a stone table on the side of the road. Then flipped over the table. It looks a bit like parkour. In fact, Jayatnan does know parkour after all. He was a street dancer back then and had quite a lot of exposure to these popular extreme sports. After climbing over the stone table, Jayatnam looked at the photographer with pride. I found that the photographer walked directly past the stone table. Damn it, why don't you turn over? Jayatnam stared. Why should I turn over? Do you think I'm stupid? The photographer said as he got closer and closer to Jayatnam. Jayatnam didn't want to be caught up, so he looked around and finally found a small alley and went in. Director Chen knew this alley. At the end of the alley was a wall. It was a dead end. And behind that wall was the small courtyard where he was. So there was no way Jayatnam could escape no matter what. Give up the struggle, Jayatnam, this is a dead end. Director Chen smiled coldly. But Jayatnam didn't say anything. He took 2 steps at a time. Put 1 foot on the wall, and then jumped upwards. Then, Jayatnam stood on the top of the wall, looked at the photographer behind him and said, "Brother, you can't come up, right?" As soon as he finished speaking, Director Chen walked to the other side of the wall, looked at Jayatnam above and sneered, "Xiao Jia, you ran to our side in a panic. And you come down? Why can't I get down?" Jayatnam jumped off the wall directly, and crossed his arms and looked at Director Chen in front of him. "Why do you think I dare not come down? You kept trying to get rid of the photographer. You just wanted to do something secretly that I couldn't know about. Now you've fallen directly into my hands. Aren't you courting death?" Director Chen said. But when Jayatnam heard this, he smiled. Director Chen, do you think that I want to get rid of the photographer because I want to do something that you can't know about? That's actually true. But what you didn't expect is that what I want to do is actually just take you away." As Jayatnam said this, he rushed in front of Director Chen with a dashing step. Then he grabbed Director Chen's arm, put it behind his back, and carried Director Chen behind him. Then Jayatnam smiled smugly. "If I can't bring the pig here, can't I just bring you over there? Dealing with you is much easier than dealing with that pig. Xiao Jia is so handsome. Awesome, Xiao Jia, you can even think of this." I am a little impressed by Jayatnam's handsomeness. The photographer also came to the yard at this time and happened to capture Jayatnam mocking Director Chen and carrying Director Chen on his back. The audience in front of the live broadcast room were all very surprised. I had seldom seen Jayatnam so handsome. A handsome Jayatnam carried Director Chen on his back handsomely. He took a step forward handsomely and walked forward handsomely. Then, he froze in place. The sheet smile on Jayatnam's face froze instantly. He found a problem. This Director Chen. How come it seems to be heavier than a pig? Director Chen stood behind him as steady as a rock, letting Jayatnam pull his arm and say, "Come on, take me over there. Didn't you say it was easier to deal with me than that pig? Try harder?" He patted his fat belly and an arrogant look appeared on his face. Jayatnam, you really underestimate my flesh." Director Chen pulled Jayatnam back and said, "Xiao Jia, if you dare to do something bad to the director, do you know what the consequences will be?" Jayatnam swallowed. Finally he whispered, "Director Chen, don't be angry. Chen Cheng instructed me to do this. In fact, I have always respected you very much." Director Chen did not reply. He only gave Jayatnam a sinister smile in response. "Why hasn't Dad come back yet?" On the other side, Jia Mingmeng, who was waiting for Jayatnam to come back, felt a little bored. She sat next to Li Ting, kicking a small stone with her swinging little feet. Seeing that Jia Mingmeng seemed to be in a bad mood, Shen Huiyu, as an older brother, wanted to go up and play with Jia Mingmeng to make her happy. However, the one who observed more carefully than Shen Huiyu was Shen Yuqing. When Shen Yuqing saw Shen Huiyu looking at Jia Mingmeng, she guessed that Shen Huiyu probably wanted to make Jia Mingmeng happy. In order to ensure that her brother would not be taken away, Shen Yuqing decided to directly cut off the possibility of Shen Huiyu having close contact with Jia Mingmeng. So she took the lead over Shen Wei Yu and walked to Jia Meng Meng's side. And he pulled Jia Meng Meng and said, Meng Meng, let's go to the small woods over there and play together. Sister Xiaoqing actually came to comfort me again. She is such a nice person, I really want to have a sister like her. This is what Jia Meng Meng was thinking at the moment. So she nodded happily and said, okay, Sister Xiaoqing. Let's go play together. I watched the two of them walk hand in hand into the small woods next to the village. Chen Weiyu, who was about to express her admiration for their good relationship, was suddenly startled. Finally he scratched his head and murmured in confusion. Why don't the two of them come to play with me? Am I being excluded? Chapter 419 Extra. Let's start taking care of the baby today. Part 6. Unlike the bamboo forest behind the village, Chen Qiqing and Jia Mengmeng went to a grove of small fruit trees planted by the villagers. Many fruit trees have borne fruit, and the orchard is filled with the fragrance of fruit. Chen Qiqing and Jia Mengmeng were both sensible little girls. Although the fruits smelled fragrant, they knew that they were grown by the villagers and were not wild fruits, so they did not pick them. But no matter how sensible you are, you will still be greedy. Jia Mengmeng loves eating fruits. Looking at the fruits hanging on the branches around her, Jia Mengmeng is almost drooling. Girl, eat if you want. It's okay. There happened to be a villager who was tidying up the fruit trees in the orchard. Seeing Jia Mengmeng staring at the fruits on the tree, the villager smiled and said, this is grown by people in our village. No pesticides or hormones are used it, as all natural and very sweet. If you want to eat it, just pick two and wash them in the water pipe over there and you can eat it. After the villagers said this, Jia Mengmeng immediately showed an excited expression on her face. She first thanked the villagers, then picked two big red fruits and handed the reddest and largest one to Shen Yuqing. Sister Xiaoqing, here. Shen Yuqing looked at Jia Mengmeng, but did not dare to take the fruit immediately. Jia Mengmeng wanted to snatch her brother away, but now he is so nice to her. But it be that Jia Mengmeng discovered that she was obstructing? So she wanted to show her kindness, bribe her, and make her give up her brother. Otherwise, Jia Mengmeng should take this big red fruit to her brother Shen Weiyu. If I take this fruit, how can I protect my brother in front of Jia Mengmeng in the future? No, absolutely not. Thinking of this, Shen Yuqing shook her head and said, no need Mengmeng, you can eat it yourself. But I can't eat too. And this fruit looks so good, it must be delicious, Sister Xiaoqing. Why don't you try it? Jia Mengmeng didn't think as much as Shen Yuqing. She just felt that Shen Yuqing was particularly nice to her today and helped her a lot. So she wanted to give the best fruit to Shen Yuqing. That's all. I don't like eating fruit if you can't finish it by yourself. You can give it to Annie Ting Ting. But it smells really good. I don't want Ting Yuan the corner. I don't want to eat. Alright. After being rejected repeatedly, Jia Mengmeng felt a little disappointed. She took the fruits and ran to the water pipe next to the orchard to wash them. Shen Yuqing looked at her back, which seemed a little depressed, and felt inexplicably guilty in her heart. No, how could I feel bad about this? It was obvious that this little girl was only thinking about snatching my brother away. Shen Yuqing said this to herself in her heart. But at this moment, Shen Yuqing heard Jia Mengmeng's scream coming from the water pipe. The scream startled Shen Yuqing, and then she ran over in a hurry. When Shen Yuqing got closer to Jia Mengmeng and took a look, she discovered that there was a small snake crawling on the ground next to the water pipe. Jia Mengmeng was just scared to the point of screaming. But when Shen Yuqing saw the snake, she was so frightened that her legs went weak and she fell to the ground. Everyone has a fear. Just like some people are afraid of cockroaches and spiders. Some people are afraid of jackals, tigers and leopards. Just like Zhang Wanwan is afraid of ghosts, Shen Feng is afraid of Zhang Wanwan. And Director Chen is afraid of Shen Feng. Shen Yuqing is naturally afraid of snakes and has a special fear of these cold-blooded animals with smooth, soft bodies covered with scales. What scared Shen Yuqing even more was that she didn't know whether the snake had noticed her. It actually crawled towards her. Shen Yuqing was so frightened that she closed her eyes tightly and burst into tears. She was just a child of 6 or 7 years old, even though she was a little smarter than other children. She was only so courageous after all. But after a second or two, when Shen Yuqing opened her eyes crying and wanted to see if the snake had approached her, but she saw that Jia Mengmeng actually pinched the snake with her hands. But Jia Mengmeng is not very brave. At this time, Jia Mengmeng was so scared that she started crying loudly. But even though she was scared and crying, she still held on to the snake that was shaking around and refused to let go. This left Shen Yuqing stunned. What is this little girl Jia Mengmeng doing? She was clearly as scared as she was, and her voice was almost hoarse from crying. How dare you hold on to this snake? At this moment, the villager, Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan and others had also heard the noise and ran over. Seeing that Jia Mengmeng was holding only a small grass snake, Shen Feng breathed a sigh of relief, walked forward to take the snake from Jia Meng Meng, and then threw it away somewhere far away. The snake was dealt with. But Jia Meng Meng continued to cry. Li Ting Ting patted Jia Meng Meng to comfort her and said, "Silly girl, if you are scared, don't hold it. But Sister Xiaoqing is more scared than me." Jia Meng Meng cried and whispered, "I want to protect her. Sister Xiaoqing is so nice to her. She couldn't let Sister Xiaoqing get hurt." After hearing this, Shen Yuqing, who was being comforted by Zhang Wanwan, froze in Zhang Wanwan's arms. Did Jia Meng Meng hold back her fear and catch the snake just for her? Does Jia Meng Meng need to go to this extent, just to please her and get close to her brother? Shen Yuqing nestled in Zhang Wanwan's arms, sobbing and thinking. When she and Jia Meng Meng stopped crying, Shen Yuqing secretly looked at Jia Meng Meng again. What on earth is this little sister thinking about? Because of an emergency, Shen Yuqing and Jia Meng Meng stayed in the farmyard to rest in the afternoon. The two little girls were lying on a small bed, watching TV programs together. The cartoon on TV was very exciting, but Shen Yuqing didn't pay attention to it. Instead, he would occasionally sneak a peek at Jia Meng Meng, who was concentrating on watching cartoons. After a long while, Shen Yuqing suddenly asked in a low voice, "Meng Meng, do you really want a brother like Shen Weiyu?" Jia Meng Meng, who was concentrating on watching the cartoon, didn't quite react at first, but then she smiled and nodded and said, "Yes." Shen Yuqing's heart sank slightly. Jia Meng Meng really helped her for her brother. But then, Jia Meng Meng said, "But I think it's best to have a good sister like Sister Xiaoqing. Sister Xiaoqing, I think you are much more reliable than Brother Shiwo. You are smart and capable, and you are especially nice to me. Thank you so much." Listening to Jia Meng Meng's enthusiastic voice, Shen Yuqing was stunned. She felt a little embarrassed for some reason, turned her head and said, "I'm not that powerful. If I were powerful, I wouldn't be afraid of snakes. But Meng Meng is also afraid of things. It's normal for Sister Xiaoqing to be afraid of things. Sister Xiaoqing, I like you very much. Can you be my sister from now on?" Shen Yuqing didn't dare to look at Jia Meng Meng at all. After a long while, he murmured. After a while, Shen Yuqing got off the bed, put on her shoes, and said to Jia Meng Meng, "Meng Meng, I'm going to go out for a while and will be back soon." After saying that, Shen Yuqing ran out without waiting for Jia Meng Meng to ask. In less than a few minutes, Shen Yuqing ran back. However, she went out empty-handed, but came back with two big, red fruits in her hands. She handed the biggest and reddest one to Jia Meng Meng, tilted her head and whispered, "Eat it, don't you like fruits? You were scared by the snake before and didn't get to eat it. Eat it now." Jia Meng Meng took the fruit handed to her by Shen Yuqing with sparkling eyes and took a big bite. And she smiled sweetly and said to Shen Yuqing, "Sister Xiaoqing, so sweet." Shen Yuqing lowered her head and took a small bite of the other fruit in her hand. The red fruit made her face look a little red. "This fruit, it's really sweet." Chapter 420 Extra. Let's start taking care of the baby today. Part 7. Jayatnam is still being held hostage by Director Chen. Director Chen has spoken. If you want to save Jayatnam, there are two options. Either Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan would take the initiative to return the tools used to dig bamboo shoots, and in the bamboo shoots, and then go back to the bamboo forest to dig another basket of bamboo shoots. Or you can give up the right to eat with everyone at night and find a way to make a fire and cook by yourself. Director Chen also said that if Shen Feng did not agree, he would not release Jayatnan and would starve him until the second task was released tomorrow. Shen Cheng quickly gave Director Chen a reply. "Let him starve." Director Chen, don't you have any brotherly bond between you? Isn't he your buddy who sticks by you at all times? Yeah, he's been doing everything for me, so what's wrong with skipping a few meals? Shen Feng said. Director Chen was speechless. He looked at Jayatnan, intending to use this matter to sow discord between Jayatnan and Shen Shen. "You see, this is how your brother Shen treats you. The relationship between you two is so fragile." But Jayatnan nodded calmly. "Yeah, you just found out. Don't you hate him? Don't you want to use your hatred as motivation to get rid of him? Even if I turn hatred into motivation, I still can't beat him." Jayatnan spread his hands and said, "Besides, I've been cheated by him many times. This is just the beginning. Do I really hate him for this? Also, is it true that you don't care about my food? If you really don't care about my food, I would order takeout. This place is so remote that it won't be delivered if I order too late." Director Chen sneered. "Order takeout? There's no shop in this small mountain village. We have to pay extra for lunchboxes to be delivered. What takeout can you order?" Then Jayatnan made a phone call. "Hey, agent, bring me some KFC." Director Chen snatched Jayatnam's phone away. While Director Chen and Jayatnan were fighting each other's wits and courage, Shen Cheng suddenly contacted Director Chen again. Tell Director Chen that their family does not have to attend the group dinner in the evening, and ask Director Chen to release Jay at Nan. Director Chen was somewhat surprised by Shenfeng's sudden compromise. However, Director Chen still felt very happy that he could make Shenfeng suffer a setback. He happily let Jiat Nan go, and then said with a smile, Shenfeng, don't regret it. You guys should take care of your family's meals tonight. Shenfeng just smiled and didn't say much. After being released by Director Chen, Jiat Nan said to Shenfeng with a touched face, Brother Shen, you are so kind to me. I don't know how I can ever repay you. You really are my best friend. Shenfeng patted Jiat Nan's shoulder and said, you don't have to repay me next time you are caught by Director Chen. Just don't use me as a shield. Jiat Nan. It seems that the fact that he sold out Shenfeng was discovered. However, Jiat Nan was thick-skinned and did not feel embarrassed when he was exposed. He waved his hand and said, don't worry, this was just an accident. There will definitely not be a next time. In the evening, Director Chen prepared an extra-rich dinner, probably to please Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan. Not only did the village chef prepare several dishes using the fish caught by Yu Mingyu and his team, but also vegetables picked by another group of guests. They also slaughtered the pig that Jiat Nan brought back and made several fresh pork dishes. It's no secret that Jiat Nan has a very deep relationship with this pig brother. Looking at the fragrant stewed pig's head in the middle of the table, Jiat Nan picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece with great sadness. Brother pig. He sighed and put the piece of pig head into his mouth. You smell so good. Director Chen specially brought a bowl. Swatted in front of Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan, who had just come out of a fan's house after borrowing a charcoal grill, and started eating with big mouthfuls. As a result, Shenfeng lit the stove without even looking at him. When the stove was almost heated, Shenfeng picked up a few peeled bamboo shoots and started roasting them on the stove. Director Chen said with a touch-u-ti sound, Xiao Shen, are you going to eat these vegetarian dishes at night? Isn't that a bit too pitiful? Chuo and Xiaoqing are still growing, so they need to supplement their nutrition. As he said this, he smacked a piece of stewed pork ribs and said, I have good intentions. Shenfeng still ignored him, took out some dishes and started roasting them on the stove. Director Chen added, there are only bamboo shoots and vegetables. No meat at all. How about I give you 2 pieces of meat? Shenfeng still ignored him and took out some cut potato chips and started roasting them. Director Chen said again, oh, this stewed pork ribs and this grilled fish. Why are they so delicious? Shenfeng still ignored him, took out another chicken and started roasting it. Director Chen's expression changed. Where did you get the chicken? I caught it in the mountains. Any objection? Chen Cheng finally replied to Director Chen. You can eat the fish caught in the river, but I can't eat the chicken caught in the mountains? After saying that, Shenfeng took out a few lamb chops and started roasting them on the stove. Damn, where did you get this lamb chop? I caught it in the mountains. Do you have any objection? You can eat the fish caught in the river, but I can't eat the sheep caught in the mountains? After that, Chen Cheng took out steak, prawns, lamb skewers, chicken wings, oysters. Where did these come from? Director Chen was dumbfounded. Shenfeng said calmly, you are allowed to eat the fish caught in the river, but I'm not allowed to eat the oysters caught in the river? The oysters you caught from the river come with garlic paste and vermicelli. Director Chen roared. Shenfeng comforted Director Chen. Just eat your stew obediently and stop worrying so much. Come on, Wan, bring that Australian lobster over here and roast it. Seeing Zhang Wanwan take out a big lobster, Director Chen almost bit his chopsticks off. How come these 2 people eat better than them? Is this reasonable? Jia Meng, Shen Weiyu and Shen Yu King are playing together now. Chen Cheng saw that the barbecue was almost cooked, so he said to them, Meng, go and call your parents to come and eat the barbecue. Chuo and Xiaoqing, go and call your uncles Liu and Song to come and eat. The 3 little guys ran to the dining table in the courtyard and called several other groups of guests. Guests from other groups had already smelled the barbecue. Although stewed meat is also very delicious, who doesn't want to eat more delicious food? Seeing the 3 little guys coming to call people, the other groups of guests immediately gathered around. Director Chen, who was standing by the stove with a bowl in his hand, was pushed outside, watching the others sharing the barbecue. Director Chen swallowed his saliva and said quickly, hey, can you leave some of that Australian lobster for me, or someone can give me a piece of beef? The audience in front of the live broadcast room almost died of laughter when they saw this scene. Director Chen, you were always showing off, why aren't you showing off now? Director Chen, look how obedient Feng Zi is. You said Chuo and Xiaoqing needed to supplement their nutrition, so Feng Zi made so much meat. Director Chen's tears and saliva flowed together. It's been 7 years, Director Chen, you haven't learned anything in 7 years. Have you forgotten Shenfeng's cooking skills back then? How dare you let him cook? But Shenfeng is still kind. Seeing that Director Chen looked so pitiful, Shen Feng took out a few skewers and handed them to Director Chen. Director Chen took it with tears in his eyes. When I looked down, I saw that they were all roasted bamboo shoots. Are you a little too saucy? Director Chen looked at Shen Feng with tears in his eyes again. You are too fat. I am afraid that if you eat too much meat, you will easily get high blood pressure, high blood sugar and high cholesterol. Eating some bamboo shoots will be good for your health. Shen Cheng said slowly. I have good intentions. Director Chen ate a bamboo shoot while crying. It feels like eating Shen Feng. Chapter 421 Extra. Let's start taking care of the baby today, Part 8. Chen Weiyu has been in a bad mood recently. Lying in bed at night, he couldn't sleep. He blinked from time to time, with confusion on his little face. Why, he felt like he was being excluded recently. Before, Xiaoqing and her sister Mingmeng were playing with him, and the three of them were quite happy. But recently, for some reason, Xiaoqing and her sister Mingmeng like to play alone more and more, and they don't invite him when they play. Last time, he saw Xiaoqing taking an apple for Mingmeng to eat, but didn't give any to him. This made Shen Weiyu feel a little awkward. It was obvious that his sister would always think of him when she had something delicious, just like he would give it to his sister first when he had something delicious. Why is this? Shen Weiyu, who couldn't sleep, got out of bed silently, walked out of the room with her shoes on, and came to the courtyard. Children go to bed early, so it's only about 10:30 now. Shen Feng and Jiang Wanwan were both awake and were playing cards with Ji Nan, Yu Mingyu and others. Seeing Shen Weiyu coming over with a pillow in her arms and a flat face, Shen Feng asked the others to play first, and he walked to Shen Weiyu's side and asked, "What's wrong, Shiwo?" "Dad, I can't sleep," Shen Weiyu whispered. Shen Cheng picked up Shen Weiyu and carried him to a quieter place outside the courtyard. Shen Cheng asked Shen Weiyu to look at the big tree in front of them and said, "Do you want to sit on the branch?" Shen Weiyu nodded. Shen Cheng put him in front of the big tree. "Come on." Shen Weiyu, "Dad, shouldn't you carry me up? It's no problem for me to climb this tree by myself, but it's a little difficult to hold you when you're not a child anymore. When Dad was your age, can you climb trees already?" Shen Weiyu asked. "You've already watched your mother climb trees," Shen Feng said. "Mom is amazing." Shen Feng touched Shen Weiyu's head. "Okay, tell me, why can't you sleep?" Shen Weiyu whispered to Shen Feng what he was thinking. In fact, even if Shen Feng didn't ask, he knew what his son was thinking. After Shen Weiyu finished speaking, Shen Feng said, "You feel like you've been excluded by Mingmeng and Xiaoqing, right?" "Yes." "Why do you think they exclude you?" Because the relationship between the two of them is better?" Shen Weiyu scratched his head. Shen Feng smiled. "Look at it in a positive way. Maybe they just simply hate you." Shen Weiyu. "Just kidding. This problem is actually not that complicated," Shen Feng said. "If you want to know the reason, why not just ask them directly?" After hearing this, Shen Weiyu was about to leave. Shen Feng stopped him helplessly. This kid didn't inherit his mother's physical strength, but he did inherit her recklessness. They are all asleep. If you wake them up now, they will really hate you. You should also go back and have a good sleep. When you wake up tomorrow, go ask them in person. After hearing what Shen Feng said, Shen Weiyu, with this thought in mind, hurried back and lay down on the bed to sleep. He really wanted tomorrow to come soon so that he could ask his sister and Mingmeng why they excluded him. But Shen Wei didn't know was. After he fell asleep, Shen Cheng went to Shen Yuqing's room. Seeing Shen Yuqing lying motionless on the bed, Shen Feng moved forward and reached out to touch the mobile phone placed next to Shen Yuqing's pillow. As Shen Feng expected, the phone was still slightly warm. Shen Feng said to Shen Yuqing, "Little guy, stop pretending to be asleep. I know you were playing with your phone just now." Shen Yuqing didn't respond. Shen Cheng was not in a hurry. He sat down on the edge of the bed and fiddled with his cell phone. Shen Yuqing still didn't respond. "Wrong password. You changed the password. Then let me guess, what is the password you changed?" Shen Yuqing still didn't respond. "Oh, it's open." Shen Yuqing opened her eyes and looked at her father in shock. "How could you possibly crack the code? There's no pattern to the code I set." Shen Yuqing knew that her father was very capable. If she used her birthday or some numbers with obvious meanings as her phone password, her father would definitely be able to guess it. So Shen Yuqing specially made up a set of meaningless numbers and memorized them as a password. How could Dad possibly solve it? When she looked at Shen Feng in surprise, she saw Shen Feng holding the phone, which was still in locked mode and shining a light in her direction. With a click, the phone's facial recognition was successful and it was automatically unlocked. Shen Yuqing was stunned. "Dad, you're lying. This is called all is fair in war, girl. You still have a lot to learn." Shen Feng smiled. Seeing that Shen Yuqing was about to get up to grab the phone, Chen Feng held the phone high and looked at the screen. Just a few minutes ago, Shen Yuqing was still chatting with Jia Mengmeng on QQ. Seeing that Shen Yuqing didn't reply, Jia Mengmeng was quite surprised and sent a message saying, "Sister Xiaoqing, are you asleep?" When Shen Yuqing saw that she was discovered, she lowered her head and admitted her mistake. Well, it's a good attitude to admit your mistake, but I didn't come to you to talk about this. Shen Feng said this, tapping his daughter's little head with his hand and letting her lie back on the bed. After covering her with the quilt, Shen Feng said again, "I want to tell you that your brother is jealous." Chen Qiuqing blinked. What's wrong with him? He feels that he is excluded because you don't bring him along when you play with Meng Meng. No, we just. Shen Qiuqing originally wanted to say that they did not exclude Shen Weiyu. But if you think about it carefully, ever since her relationship with Jia Mengmeng improved, it seems that she does spend more time playing with Jia Mengmeng than with her brother. But Shen Yuqing felt that this was understandable. Shen Weiyu is a boy after all compared with Shen Weiyu. Chen Qiuqing obviously feels that they have more in common with Jia Mengmeng, who is also a girl. Naturally, you will become closer and closer to Jia Mengmeng. Anyway, I'll ask Chuo to come tomorrow and ask you why you're always racising him. Think about what you can say to comfort your brother. Seeing that Shen Yuqing seemed to realize the problem, Shen Feng didn't say anything more. He got up and left Shen Yuqing's room. After Shen Feng left for a long time, Shen Yuqing suddenly remembered something. It seems that Dad didn't return the phone to her. It's over. It looks like I can't say goodnight to Meng Meng tonight. Chapter 422 Extra. Let's start taking care of the baby today. Part 9. The next day when Shen Weiyu came to find Shen Yuqing, Shen Qiuqing apologized to her brother. She said that she was indeed only concerned with playing with Meng Meng and ignored Shen Weiyu. She also said that she and Meng Meng were not excluding Shen Weiyu, but the two girls did have more common language. Shen Weiyu is also a relatively tolerant brother. Knowing that his sister and Meng Meng are not excluding or hating him, he doesn't feel so bad. However, Shen Weiyu also discovered a problem. That is, boys and girls do have less common language. If he wants to have more common language with his sister and Meng Meng, doesn't he have to become a girl first? Just as she was thinking this, Shen Weiyu saw the staff of the program team brought a lot of clothes for children. These are the gifts prepared by the program team for the children in the village. The task of Shen Feng and other groups of guests today is to distribute clothes to the children in the village. Shen Weiyu leaned over to take a look and found that there were styles for both men and women. His face turned slightly red, and he finally said to the staff of the program group, "Sister, can you give me a set of this clothes to wear?" What Shen Weiyu didn't know was, the staff member whom he called sister was originally named Shang Dapao. Chang Cannon, Mingdalai Entertainment's gold medal makeup artist. One of the best makeup artists in the country. He is not someone's exclusive makeup artist. Anyone can hire him to do their makeup, provided that they can afford a high enough price. Let's Take Care of the Babies was originally a program planned by Mingdalai Entertainment, and with big-name stars like Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan, Liu Mingyu and Wen Hui in charge, Shang Dapao was naturally the best choice for the makeup artist. When Shen Sheng was filming Youth Group, Shang Dapao had contact with Shen Feng. He helped Shen Feng test Shang Biehua. Although this guy is effeminate, he is undoubtedly a man. However, Shang Dapao likes being called sister. When he heard Shen Weiyu calling him sweetly, Shang Dapao's face was full of joy. Yo, Shuo speaks so nicely, much nicer than your father and mother. When Shen Weiyu heard the sound of Shang Dapao pinching his throat, she realized that she seemed to have called the wrong name. He hurriedly changed his words and wanted to call her brother. But Shang Dapao pouted and said, "You should call me sister. I will be angry if you call me brother." Okay. Sister, Shen Weiyu said in a low voice. "Yeah, you're so good. Honey, you just said you wanted to wear this dress, right? Although it is indeed very beautiful, it is for little girls. Sister thinks that this one is more suitable for you." Shang Dapao was kind enough to recommend another set of men's clothes to Shen Weiyu. I have to say that as a top makeup artist, Shang Dapao has a very good aesthetic sense, and the dress he chose is very suitable for Shen Weiyu. But Shen Weiyu blushed and shook her head. I still want to try that one." Oh. Shang Dapao clapped his hands as if he had suddenly realized something. "You want to become a little girl, right?" Although she was embarrassed to admit it, Shen Weiyu still nodded. He felt that if he also wore a little skirt, he would have more common language with his sister and Meng Meng. The smile on Shang Dapao's face became even brighter. He pinched his index finger and excitedly took Shen Weiyu to the dressing room. After helping Shen Weiyu put on the little skirt, she enthusiastically helped her put on a small wig and put on makeup. Shen Weiyu inherited her parents' good looks, and since she is relatively young, she looks cute. Shang Dapao is also a top makeup artist. With his help, after a short while, Shen Weiyu actually turned into a little loli wearing a skirt and twin ponytails, looking pure, cute and weak. Wow, baby, you are so beautiful. I am so jealous of you. This is the power of genes. Wow. Wow, wow, little treasure, how about I take you to debut? Let's debut as a child star in international blockbusters. Shang Dapao's voice was excited. Shen Weiyu was a little at a loss. He looked at the mirror in front of him. Because he and Shen Yuqing are twins. After Shang Dapao put on makeup and a wig, Shen Weiyu looked exactly like Shen Yuqing. Shen Weiyu felt that in this way, he should be able to have a common language with Meng Meng and his sister. After politely saying thank you and goodbye to the somewhat fanatical Shang Dapao, Shen Weiyu left the dressing room. Coincidentally, I met Jia Meng Meng, who had just got up and was about to go out for dinner. Shen Weiyu was just about to go up and say hello, but unexpectedly, Jia Meng Meng actually took the initiative to run over and hold his hand. Good morning, Jia Meng Meng said with a sweet smile. Morning, morning, Shen Weiyu whispered. Hey, your voice seems a little hoarse. Are you feeling unwell? Can I get you some water? Jia Meng Meng asked with concern. Shen Weiyu didn't actually feel that his voice was hoarse, but he was still very grateful for Jia Meng Meng's concern. At the same time, I was also feeling emotional. It turned out that after becoming a girl, I could find a common language with girls. Meng Meng stopped excluding him all of a sudden and became particularly caring and enthusiastic towards him. Very nice. Just as Shen Weiyu was sighing, Jia Meng Meng took his hand and walked towards the dining area, saying, You fell asleep last night. I sent you a message but you didn't reply. Shen Weiyu was stunned. Send a message? Did Jia Meng Meng send him a message last night? No, it seems like he doesn't have any friends who are Jia Meng Meng. He looked at Jia Meng Meng in confusion and asked, Meng Meng, what's the news? It's QQ's sister Xiaoqing. Are you confused in your sleep? Did you forget it? Jia Meng Meng also looked at Shen Weiyu with confusion. The words sister Xiaoqing made Shen Weiyu react immediately. It turned out that Jia Meng Meng mistook him for Shen Yuqing. Just when Shen Weiyu wanted to explain. On the other side, Shen Yuqing happened to walk over. She originally wanted to wake Jia Meng Meng up and call Shen Weiyu to eat. But when she met Jia Meng Meng, she saw that Jia Meng Meng was holding hands and chatting with a girl who looked exactly like her. This strange scene frightened Shen Yuqing so much that she screamed. Shen Yuqing's scream also attracted Jia Meng Meng's attention. When Jia Meng Meng noticed that there was a Shen Yuqing standing not far away and another Shen Yuqing standing next to her, Jia Meng Meng was so scared that she screamed. The sudden screams of the two little girls also frightened Shen Weiyu, causing her to scream. The three screams immediately alarmed parents such as Jiat Nan, Li Dingting, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan. Parents are still familiar with their children. Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan could tell at a glance that the person next to Jia Meng Meng was Shen Weiyu. One of them went to pull Shen Weiyu over, and the other went to comfort Shen Yuqing. Jia Ten and Li Tingting also ran to comfort Jia Meng Meng. Zhang Wanwan patted Shen Weiyu's back to comfort him, and asked Shen Weiyu why he was dressed like this. Shen Weiyu said that he wanted to wear a little skirt just because he wanted to have a common language with his two younger sisters. And a brother who looked very much like his sister made him up like this. After hearing this, Zhang Wanwan nodded. Then he silently handed Shen Weiyu over to Shen Feng's care. He also picked up a nice-looking brick from the base of the courtyard wall. Soon, everyone saw Shang Dapao running for his life near the dressing room. A scream of came out of his mouth. However, in the end, Shang Dapao successfully saved his life from Zhang Wanwan by saying, Don't you think it's cute? And Shen Weiyu successfully became the object of caressing and photographing by all the guests today. After the live broadcast started, it instantly attracted the attention of all the audience. This made "Let's take care of the kids" once again undoubtedly a hot topic. And after the misunderstanding was resolved, it seemed that Shen Weiyu and her two sisters did have more common topics. Congratulations, congratulations. Chapter 423 Extra. Getting old. The breeze blows on my face, bringing a slight coolness. Shen Cheng took Zhang Wanwan for a walk in the park. A wind blows the white hair on their temples and also blows their aging faces. Zhang Wanwan suddenly started coughing, her voice was low and hoarse, and her expression was slightly painful. Shen Cheng hurriedly helped her to sit on a bench in the park. He took out the medicine and water from his bag and handed them to Zhang Wanwan. Zhang Wanwan swallowed the medicine with water, and the expression on her face gradually improved. My body is getting weaker and weaker. I said I was going to the park, but I barely took 2 steps before this happened. Shen Cheng held Zhang Wanwan's hand. Even though there were already wrinkles on those hands, he said in a gentle voice, It's okay, you can turn around if you want. Or rest if you want, we still have plenty of time. Your illness isn't that serious. Just stop thinking about it. Zhang Wanwan responded. And looked up at the flowers blooming in the park. The two of them just fell silent, as if time had frozen in that moment. After a while, Zhang Wanwan seemed to come back to her senses. Suddenly he looked at Shen Feng beside him in surprise and asked, "When did they build a flower bed like this in the park? It's been several years since then, have you forgotten it again?" Shen Sheng said with a smile. But there was a bit of sadness in that smile. Zhang Wanwan asks this question every time she comes to the park. She has had memory problems for a long time, and often cannot remember things that happened in recent years. Oh, I forgot again. Zhang Wanwan also smiled. She slowly turned her head and leaned on Shen Feng's shoulder. The tufts of silver white hair were stacked together. "What do you want to eat tonight? I'll make it for you when I get home." Shen Feng asked softly. "Just drink the porridge. Would you like millet porridge or corn porridge?" "Millet porridge. There are some steamed buns at home. Can I stir-fry some cabbage? How about scrambled eggs? Look at those toots over there, Dante, they look a lot like us when we were little." "Old lady? Hey, old lady?" Shen Feng took a deep breath, feeling the person leaning on his shoulder sliding down. Shen Feng didn't have the courage to turn his head to look. He just looked ahead silently, his eyes silently turning red. Trembling silently, he silently hugged the person who could no longer lean on his shoulder. The wind blew. A bit colder. "Good, perfect, click." Following the director's shout, Zhang Wanwan, who had her eyes closed, suddenly came back to life when being hugged by Shen Feng. After taking off the white wig on her head, Zhang Wanwan smiled and asked the director, "Director, is the filming finished? We'll wrap up right away. You and Feng Zi can just catch up on the previous shot later." "Yeah." Zhang Wanwan clapped her hands happily, and Shen Feng next to her also stood up and pinched Zhang Wanwan's face. Don't pinch it, it hurts with makeup on." Zhang Wanwan glared at Shen Feng with bared teeth, then reached out and pinched him back. Zhang Wanwan quickly gained the upper hand, and Shen Feng simply held her in his arms lovingly. The interaction between the two made everyone on the set look as if they were shocked. Only those who have truly seen Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan's daily interactions will understand why this couple is so popular. Because the way they get along is not acted, but a genuine love and affection that is revealed in daily life. After shooting the last shot, Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan finally finished filming this drama. The crew held their wrap party in the evening, but the male and female protagonists Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan were absent. And at this time, in the hotel booked by the crew, Shen Sheng was pressing Zhang Wanwan on the bed and kissing her lips. This guy's kissing skills have improved recently, and he was particularly hardworking today, causing Zhang Wanwan, who thought she was already an experienced kisser, to blush and her heart beat fast again. While she was enjoying Shen Feng's kiss, her growling stomach told Shen Feng that she wanted to attend the wrap-up banquet. And Shen Feng's increasingly tight hug also expressed Shen Feng's thought. "No." After being kissed by Shen Feng for a while, Zhang Wanwan asked Shen Sheng with misty eyes, "Feng Zi, I saw from the set that something was wrong with you." Shen Feng chuckled and pinched Zhang Wanwan's little face. "You are quite observant then." "That's right, I'm sure. You've been drugged," Zhang Wanwan said. Shen Feng. Seeing Shen Feng's speechless expression, Zhang Wanwan smiled slyly. He hooked his hands around Shen Feng's neck and asked him to lie down beside him, saying, "Be good, be good, be good. I know you're feeling bad because of filming that scene. It's just filming, don't be scared." "Yeah, it's just filming." Shen Feng sighed. "If it's true, I definitely won't be as calm as when I was filming." To be honest, Shen Feng couldn't imagine what Zhang Wanwan would think or how he would react when she left him one day. But he was sure that he would be in more pain than any other day in the past 800 years. In fact, sometimes Shen Feng even felt that Zhang Wanwan was much more pitiful than him. Although he had to experience 800 years repeatedly on the same day, at least he could see Zhang Wanwan whenever he wanted to. But in her previous life, Zhang Wanwan actually experienced losing his life for 10 years. Thinking about it this way, maybe my younger brother is stronger than him. Just as Shen Feng was thinking, Zhang Wanwan stretched out her finger. She gently drew circles on Shen Feng's lips and said with a smile, "It turns out that old foxes sometimes get stuck in a dead end. Haven't you ever thought that we are still young? Just like what we said in the scene we filmed this afternoon. We still have plenty of time. Instead of thinking about something that might happen in 50 or 60 years, why not think about what will happen tonight?" As she spoke, Zhang Wanwan's fingers slid down from Shen Feng's lips to Shen Feng's neck, to Shen Feng's collar, and finally, unbuttoned his clothes. "I didn't have the wrap-up banquet yet. I'm very hungry," Zhang Wanwan said softly. A smile appeared on Shen Feng's face again. He leaned forward again and whispered in Zhang Wanwan's ear, "And I'll do my best to feed you, okay? Sexy little kitty." A domineering old fox. Chapter 424, New World. The incident happened when Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing were 18 years old. Since filming Bringing Up Baby, Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing have become somewhat famous. Many people in the circle want to find Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing to shoot variety shows or TV movies, not only because their parents are Shenfeng Zhangwanwan, who are already popular, but also because they both have outstanding looks. But after consulting Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing, Shenfeng helped the two children reject these filming invitations. I don't know what's going on, but these two little guys didn't inherit their mother's love for showbiz and don't really want to be stars. So Shenfeng let the two children live a normal life as much as possible. Shen Weiyu has grown into a handsome young man now. As he grows older, he no longer looks feminine as he did when he was a child. Now his appearance has 80 of his father's charm. Shen Yuqing is even more beautiful. Not only did she inherit Wan's good looks, but she also inherited Feng Zi's height, becoming a great beauty. Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan, who are in their 30s, are still enjoying prosperous careers. It can even be said that now is their prime. Time has not left too many traces on the two of them, but it has allowed them to get rid of the titles of fresh meat and traffic and become genuine veteran actors. But even though they are called veteran actors, they are still the top stars in the country. No matter how many so-called young handsome guys have emerged over the years, how many all-round idols want to replicate Shenfeng's success, and how many celebrity CPS want to imitate the Quan Suo couple, none of them can surpass Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan in popularity, and they can't even reach a fraction of theirs. It is true that those who imitate me are vulgar, and those who imitate me will die. However, the character and acting skills of the two have served as models in the circle. Especially in recent years, the audience has become more and more demanding of those idol brothers, who have only good looks but no acting skills. It also forced many stars who wanted to debut to hone their acting skills. They all knew that the days of relying on a face to make a living were gone. It's summer vacation. Jia Meng was bored at home and was chatting on the phone with Shen Yuqing. Sister Xiaoqing, have you heard about the new holographic game that's going to be released soon? Jia Meng asked. With the development of technology in recent years, holographic games have gradually replaced traditional online games and become the first choice for gaming entertainment. And because of the concept of the metaverse, many large capital and large enterprises have also joined the ranks of holographic games, investing heavily in them, allowing holographic games to develop rapidly. Recently, a new holographic online game is about to be publicly tested, and Jia Meng is quite interested in it. That New World. My brother really wants to play it, too. Meng. Do you want to join us? 10 years ago, when Shen Yuqing was 8 years old, a computer online game called Shijio came out. For nearly 10 years afterwards, it dominated most of the global online game market. Even with the rise of holographic games in recent years, the popularity of OL is still very high. The holographic game New Shiji, to be publicly tested this time, is a holographic upgraded version of Shijio. As early as the announcement of the public beta, it attracted a lot of attention. Well, Sister Xiaoqing, let's go together then. Okay. During dinner, Shen Yuqing found an opportunity to tell Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan about her idea of playing holographic games. Although holographic games have been popular in recent years, Shenfeng and Zhang Wanwan are often away filming their children. Weiyu and Yuqing were young and subject to anti-addiction restrictions, so they couldn't play much. Therefore, the family did not buy a game console. Originally, Shen Yuqing thought that after making this request, her parents would most likely let her focus on her studies. But I didn't expect that my parents would agree so readily. This surprised both Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing, especially Shen Weiyu. After dinner, he grumbled to his sister, "If I had known that my parents would agree so readily, I would have told them earlier." However, when the courier company delivered the game cabinet to their door the next day, Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing finally understood why their parents agreed so readily. Because the courier company delivered for game consoles. "Your dad and I are also going to take some time off. We'll be bored soon, so we can play games with you guys," Zhang Wanwan said with a smile. It's fun to play a new game though. But when they thought about having to play games with their parents in the future, Shen Weiyu and Shen Yuqing felt a little scared for some reason. And soon there was bad news from Jia Meng. Jia Tenan and Li Ting also wanted to play games with Jia Meng. The day when New World was launched, Shen Yuqing and Shen Weiyu created their characters and entered the game. They quickly found Jia Meng, and then the three little guys secretly ran away to experience the game. This is Zhang Wanwan's first time playing a holographic game, and it's quite new. On the street, he kept touching the game character made by Shenfeng. Shenfeng said helplessly, "Wanji, don't you think you are a bit of a pervert?" Zhang Wanwan said confidently, "How can it be a pervert? I even specially created a male character. So this is even more like a perversion." On the street, a muscular man touched a thin and weak boy. Passing players would cast strange looks at him from time to time. Another male player came up and asked Zhang Wanwan in a very shy and effeminate voice if he could touch him too. Shen Feng kicked the player named away. At this moment, Li Ting and Jiat Nan also came to meet Shen Feng and the others. After seeing Zhang Wanwan's sculpted muscular man character, I almost laughed out loud. But just now when I was at the place where I accepted the mission, I saw someone who looked even more unique than you. A Barbie doll with green ponytails and a white beard. I was stunned at the time. I even began to doubt whether the race that person chose was human. As a few people were talking, they suddenly saw a few people on the roadside being chased by the village guards. One of the people being hunted even yelled at the top of his lungs. The one called Ying Ziou, I will remember you. Shen Cheng looked in the direction where he was cursing and saw a female player with an innocent look on her face standing with a male player with a sack on his head. One is called Ying Ziou, and the other is called Han Yi Jian. Feng Zi, stop looking, let's go do the mission. Zhang Wanwan pulled Shen Feng who was watching the fun. And Shen Feng came back to his sense. She turned around and followed Zhang Wanwan, Li Ting, Jia Ten and others out of the novice village. On the way out of the novice village, Shen Feng felt that something was missing. After thinking about it carefully, I remembered that Shi Wo, Xiao King and others seemed to be missing. Never mind. It's not important. Otherwise, if they see their dad being hugged by a muscular man, it will leave a psychological trauma on them. What even Shen Ding didn't expect was that, at the 1-year anniversary celebration of the public beta of New World, he would actually see these two names again, which he had only glanced at in the early days of the game. At the 1-year anniversary celebration of New World, relying on the maturity and convenience of holographic technology, the official organized a grand online event that was no less than an offline celebration. The event is not only full of benefits, but also specially invited celebrities to form a star team to compete against the lucky players randomly drawn at the celebration site. The star team and the player team each have 5 people, and they compete in both team and individual competitions. The event attracted considerable attention, because among the 5 stars invited to the event, there are Shen Feng and Zhang Wanwan, as well as Jia Ten and Li Ting. There is also a star contestant who rarely appears in the public eye, but the audience still has a deep impression of him, Zhang Qianming. Although Zhang Qianming has not been involved in the entertainment industry much since joining the youth group, there has been more and more news about him in recent years. After all, the company he founded, TNEA, has become the most successful new energy technology company in the country in recent years. He is young and promising, and has previous experience in talent shows, so naturally many people will pay attention to him. The activity of New World is to let celebrities compete with players, which naturally requires the celebrities to have a certain level of gaming skills. It just so happened that Zhang Qianming also loved playing games. And he also played New World with Shen Feng, Zhang Wanwan, and Liu Ya. So when the official was struggling to find someone to participate in the event, Zhang Wanwan recommended her younger brother. In the individual competition, the players drawn by Shen Feng, Zhang Qianming and Zhang Wanwan were not very strong. Zhang Wanwan is gifted in playing this game's skilled practitioner, and she is like a fish in water in this holographic game that requires hands and feet. But the individual competition is just an appetizer for the celebration. Because whether it is Shen Feng and his team, or the game players participating in the celebration, they all understand that the most interesting thing in New World is the team competition. Not only are the maps for team competitions larger, but there are also more variables. The player's personal strength, keen tacit understanding, tactics, and psychological quality will also be fully reflected in the team competition. The lucky players who participated in the team competition were also selected by drawing lots. Among them were the player named Han Yijian and the player named Ying Ziou. Shen Cheng remembered these two names, and he still had some impression of them. Moreover, I have seen these two ideas frequently in the game recently. They both seem to be experts. After the team competition started, Shen Feng, as the captain, had not immediately led his men to the center of the battlefield. Instead, he allocated manpower and arranged tactics, planning a surprise attack from the flank. But what surprised Shen Feng was that on their way to the surprise attack, they actually encountered an enemy who also wanted to use a surprise attack tactic. The original surprise attack turned into an encounter battle. Shen Cheng made a prompted decision and decided to strike first. The Yanming, go invisible and stealthily attack the opposing priest. Listen 1GE, use a large-scale AoE skill to feint and try to destroy the surrounding buildings to create smoke and dust to cover Zhang Qianming's actions. Xiao Jia, jump directly into the opponent's melee fighter's face. If you can't handle it, use your invincibility and retreat immediately. I'll take your place. Focus on the swordsman named Han Yijian on the opposite side. Don't give him too many opportunities to wreak the should be the commander of the opposing team. Chen Feng's order was brief and clear after hearing the instruction. The others immediately followed it. On the other side, seeing that the star team took the lead in launching the offensive, several players impulsively wanted to fight back. The player named Han Yijian said, "Priest, be careful with your positioning. Ying Zi. You and Long Zuzan should go directly to protect the priest, and use Dragon Roar to spray the opposing ninja. Don't be on guard against the skills of Li Tingting and Zhang Wanwan on the opposite side. Their initial AoE is just to cover, save your skills for later. I'll go hold back Jiat Nan and Shen Cheng. Ying Zi and Long Zuzan will come to help me as soon as they have withstood the first wave of ninja attacks." Although the player team was not as united as the star team, they did follow Han Yijian's orders. During the battle between the two sides, Zhang Tianming, who wanted to launch a sneak attack according to Shen Feng's order, was blocked by the Dragon Blood Warrior, who retreated to the side of the priest. The AoE skills of Li Tingting and Zhang Wanwan to create chaos were also directly ignored. Seeing this scene, Han Yijian said slowly, "Shen Feng's plan has been broken. Now prepare for a counterattack. The front row listen to my command." Shen Feng's reaction was just as fast. The other side is about to counterattack. Zhang Tianming retreat. Xiao Jia, follow me, get ready. Orge's sword dance, roaring flames, and brilliant holy light. The battlefield was filled with smoke, and the fight between the player team and the star team had lasted for nearly 10 minutes. A wonderful offensive and defensive tactical arrangements of both sides made the players watching the game almost forget that it was just an entertainment game. Even if you tell them that this is a competition between the groups of professional players, they are willing to believe it. With the fall of Zhang Wanwan from the star team and the departure of the priest from the player team, there were finally only two people left on the field, Shen Feng and the player named Han Yijian. There are only two of us left, so there's no need to plan tactics. Han Yijian's profession is a swordsman. He held the sword and walked towards Shen Feng. Shen Feng also walked towards him holding a spear. "This is the first time I've met someone who can guess all my arrangements. You are a very good player," Shen Sheng said slowly. Han Yijian was not modest. "Yeah, I think I'm pretty good too. So, how about you just surrender, Mr. Shen Cheng? My sister is still waiting for your autograph." Shen Feng did not reply, but raised the spear in his hand. Han Yijian also smiled and raised his sword. There was still a raging fire on the ruins. A strong wind blew. The flames swept across. In the firelight, human figures everywhere. Guns and swords crossed.